Well, hello, everyone. I was sitting there typing in the chat when we went live. So how's everybody doing today? Happy Memorial Day weekend. It's cold and rainy here today. Not much going on bee-wise. I did have, whoop, that's empty. I had something interesting happen today, though. I went out in the, to get in the Bronco to go down to Walmart. And guess what? I saw a cluster of bees. I said, man, why is there a cluster of dead bees on the ground by the Bronco? Well, they weren't dead, but they were cold and wet. And it's going okay, Steven. It's going okay. I'm greatly reduced for sure. But there was a pile of wet. Hey, Charlie. Muted. Wet and cold bees. I don't know if they had swarmed up to a tree or what, but they were down on the ground, a cluster of bees. And I took a Pro Nuke and scooped them in the lid and put them on top of some frames and put it down. And so let them, they might be dead because they're just too cold. I don't know. So we'll see. I did print some labels, label up some honey today. So these are those Avery labels printed with inkjet printer and slapped right on the bottom.
So how did you design that label?
I just use the Avery software. And then once you design it once, Charlie, you don't have to do it again.
Yeah, but how did you find, I'll say like bring it, it's like all right, you got your Walker Bee Ranch logo up there and you got the center section, the outlines or where you put your printing and everything. Is that all on the template?
All right, we can do this together, Charlie. Woohoo! Let me pull up the website here. Avery.com. But I'm going to pull up my, you'll see a bunch of stuff up here. But let's see, share screen, my account on Avery, add to stream. Should make it big. All right, so you can't see me here, right?
Right.
Can't see anything. So this is my label on I don't know if you can see my mouse. This top left one is my label here that I've already designed, right? And there's my little stinger. There's a new little stinger label for 1 pound. Nutrition label. This is all different designs. This is the lid of my mason jar, right? So there's a few different things that, few ways to do it. So the main thing is, let's say I want to create a new project, right?
Right.
And I'm going to try to do this in between. I'm going to have to flip between two things here. Oh, if I do that, let me bring it down for a second and remove it. It's still there. I'll bring it back. But so like, this is the labels that I've got right now, right? These 22820s. They're, if you look on the back, they're 2 inches by 3.5 inches oval, right? So you got to put in that. It's already popped up. Whoop, hold on. Add to stream. Open. So 22820 is my label that I've got, right? And it pulls them up. This is the number. That's the label, right? That's the one we're going to do. So select this template and it's going to load it up. And there's some pre stuff you could do, right? You could switch it around and change it. But I always start with the blank one. And this is the orientation it's going to be on my bottle, right?
Right.
So if I was using it sideways, then I would pick something like that. But I'm using it like this, select design. And look what you got here. Blank template, right?
Right.
So this is not going to look great, but I'm going to try to do something here. So let's say I want to add an image. I don't know. Let's browse for a file on my computer, and we're going to take this. And you see it doesn't look big, right? So I can, let's say I want to turn it this way. Whoops. It's going to give me a notification that I'm off my thing here. But I do the from edge to edge usually. And I just, whoop, that's not what I want to do. I want to just size it, right? Size it to fit. Just keep pulling till I cover the whole label.
Yeah, I get all that. And I understand that part of it, but it's always the graphics, I guess you call it.
Hey, look, check this out. Shapes. When you hit more, it brings you shapes, right? So you can add a shape. And let's say I want to use this shape. I don't know, whatever shape you want. We can pick that shape, or this is the one that I use a lot. Apply, you see that? And now I got that shape right there. And I don't know where we want to put it. We can just, let's go from side to side, just for creation's sake here. All right, so now we're side to side. Well, now we can add a text box right in there. And you can just do it how you want to do it. We can back that out.
Right.
Say, Charlie's bluegrass honey. All right, so obviously that's not fitting. You can just center it up right there. Now it's in the middle. And that's what we're working with right now. So you can change it all around. I mean, you could put whatever you want to on there. As long as, follows your state guidelines or whatever. You can keep adding shapes. Okay, let's add another shape. Let's I don't know. Let's you could do this. Let's say you wanted to do something like this and make it go around the top of it. I don't know, it looks kind of stretched. So let's do it like that maybe. And then add text, add curved text. Boom, look at that. All right, so now we got curved text, but it's not like fitting our thing, but we can play with that. We can stretch the box out and, I don't know, maybe if we push that up and pull that down, maybe.
I get it, Bob.
So, yeah, you can just do what you need to do and change it however you want to change it. And then you just save it. And once you save it, let's say on the bottom here, it says preview and print. Yeah, continue anyway. And then it prints it up like it's on the sheet. And then you just print them out. Actually, when you go to print it, it'll save you a Adobe file. And then you just load like I've got, I can remove that. But I bought a new printer on top there. On top of my label printer, it's on right there, an Eco Tank. And I find that it seems to make a little bit better. Are they perfect every time? No, but I mean, they're 14 cents. 14 cents a label. So if you put in the front and I didn't put one on the back, but if you put one on the front and the back, then you're in 28 cents for both things.
Hey, Lisa.
So it's you could definitely do it any way you want. They don't charge you to set it up. It takes you a few minutes. That's how I did that Hard Luck Honey label with the U.S. flag and the Marine Corps. I mean, you can change whatever you want to. You can make it as fancy schmancy as you can do, or however you want to do it.
So it was raining down there today?
All day, and it was 52 earlier. It's 57 right now. We're almost at the high for the day. And
I wonder if that's coming towards me.
It is quite nasty out. And tomorrow, I think it's going to be a bit warmer. Let's see. Well, that's not what I wanted. Let's do that again.
Well, it was sunny and bright today.
I gotta see. You were sunny and bright today?
Yeah, it
So
was nice. It was very nice today. It
tomorrow I
was
got a high of 61, Charlie. And then Monday it'll be 74, and then 78, and then 80 and 83. And of course, the work week is going to be hotter than fire. And then it looks like we're going to be in the 80s for at least a week. So, don't know what's going to happen with the bees. I mean, we're getting plenty of rain. Hopefully that's going to make some stuff. Yes, you can upload your own picture to it. You could put your face on there. I could put my little swarm rustler bee guy on there. I was messing around with that a little bit today, but I just went with the old trusty I had. And you can do whatever you want. I find if you go to the Staples or somewhere like that, these are much more expensive than ordering them off of Amazon. They're $11 and some change when you order a pack of them for 80. So it's 14 cents a label when you order them off of Amazon. And I thought I was just going to order labels from the label company, and I decided, you know what, let me just do this again this year and make a go of it. But I have been looking at new shiny things, Charlie. New shiny things. I haven't bought any, but I've been looking at them.
you gotta resist that buying. Too much buying.
I feel like once I get it how I want it, then maybe it'll stay that way. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't bought anything else. I'm just been looking, window shopping, if you will.
What are you looking at now?
Pump and clarifier.
Nah.
Well, in part there, I gotta say, I got a phone call today
from
Amir. And Amir had a guy call him yesterday and wanted to buy 20 nukes. Well, I know a guy that might have 20 nukes that he could sell. So if I sell the 20 nukes, well, guess what? That just paid for my uncapper, right? So,
hey, Brian.
If I do sell the 20 nukes, then I would have plenty of cash to buy the clarifier and pump. So those are just things I've been looking at. Doesn't mean I'll pull the trigger on them. I might just try to run it the way it is. I bought some strainers and have that going. So might just roll with what I've got. Like I said, I don't know this year if I'm even going to need any of this, because it doesn't appear that we're going to get that much honey.
Yeah, I went through my the nukes that I had papered into my honey hives behind me there. I went ahead and got rid of the paper and stuff yesterday morning. And like you say, the bees are kind of like, yeah, they're in there, but they're not up in the supers. And it's dry here. And I was just looking at the weather, and I don't think it's going to rain next week either. And things are dried up, and they're not going out and foraging.
Well, yeah, we've been getting so much rain, and it's cool. I mean, it's 52 degrees here. The bees would still forage, but it's just that constant 85, 58. You know what I mean? It's just constantly up and down, and just don't know.
Here's Fox Plus. I haven't seen him for a while.
Yeah, and we'll probably get a influx here in a minute of people, but it's one of those things you just don't know if you're gonna create, how much honey you're gonna create. You're gonna get some, right?
Yeah, well, it's like myself. I'm kind of worried about it myself, because I mean, I won't say I'm getting low, but I I'd like to get about 800 pounds to 1,000. And then I went through the nukes this afternoon, and I don't know, there was some of them, they're like requeening themselves with, swarm cells, where they've had a queen, and she laid it up, and then they got rid of her. And now they got swarm cells. And then there are other ones that really just going to town. They got 5/5, and I had, several frames of slab brood, cat brood.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had a couple other hives there that, yeah, there's a queen there, and they just need bee power to get that thing up and running. So I had a couple hives there. I'm like, I need to equalize. I need to pull some brood and bees out of these hives because, I don't want to put another box up on top. I want to set them back some. So,
I'm
so
thinking,
anyway, I had two singles, two 5-framers, and I pulled a couple brood frames, cat brood frames that with bees on them, found the queens and the donator hives first and dropped them in. So hopefully that's going to work. And all that. And the other ones are doing pretty good, and whatever. And I mean, there were some frames in there. I said, man, this is perfect for grafting. Just
right.
Milk
Perfect age.
just got that jelly in there and it's just right. And I'm like, if I had a cell builder right now, I sure would. I got to figure out how. I mean, I got to figure out.
Well,
I got to find some hives. I'm starting to get my resources built back up, but it's still slow.
I had a couple conversations on the phone today. One was with Ed, and I don't know if he's in here or not, or son of one, right? I talked to him.
Yeah, I've seen his video. He was, I don't know, he was checking his nukes, about coming back with versions or something. And I couldn't understand it because you didn't have a microphone.
Well, the thing was, we got to talking beaconomics, right? And equipment and stuff like that, which is one of my favorite topics. But I think it's important to mention that on these streams, when we talk about equipment, and I'm talking about 30 frame extractors and uncappers, that's a lot of money. I understand that. And what I'm trying to show is not, boy, look at me spend all this money. That's not the goal of it, because I started out just like everybody else here with couple colonies, and I'm trying to display, hopefully more than anything, the way I think about my business. It's not about how much money I'm spending on the equipment per se. So if you've been following the channel and the chats, and Brian is a good example of this from Flower Street Farms too, is that I've found ways to be able to make extra money to be able to put back into my business. So, like hot honey, flipping queens, flipping nukes, right? All of that has allowed a bigger cash flow than if I'm just selling honey. However, when you start, you have to just sell honey because that's all you have. And then people start understanding, oh, he sells honey, and you can add stuff to it. We got Philip here. You can,
hey guys,
you can add to that your gear and stuff by doing some of the things that we do.
The biggest thing in the beginning, like myself, is it's you start out as a hobby, and then you get hooked, and then
addicted.
You get addicted. You get stung. You get and you keep getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And then, what kind of got me is like you say about honey. I bought in, I went out and I bought a guy out for $800. I had the honey plane. I had honey, hot knives. He came with it.
Mm-hmm.
He had a Maxant, it's that little one that they sell. I think it's a 6 or 8 frame model that they have. It's semi-10 radial and Geo type 1. So I said, okay, I bought all that out, bought him out, smoker and everything, 8-inch smoker, and it was a good price. He wanted to sell me boxes and everything. I'm like, your boxes are rotten, And then they also they had these numbers written on them. Well, then I checked with my inspector. Oh, he's had foul brewed and had run at the time. The state of Maryland had this vessel where you put your boxes in, and it was, I don't know whether they didn't radiate it. They put some kind of gas in there. It supposedly killed everything. Well, I don't want him. I don't want his, that they've already said that, American foul brood will get into the pores of the wood and will be there.
You don't want to buy his problem.
That's right. You can, as far as I'm concerned, burn the boxes for firewood. And so anyway, I kept on, like you say, the first 5 years, it's like any business. It's you putting money into the business. If you make any money, you put it right back into the business. There's no profit. So I expanded my hives, and, as far as honey hives go, and then you're learning at the same time.
Right.
And then I'm listening to Michael Palmer, and he's talking about sustainability and, back and start making nukes and stuff like that. So I followed that trend, 10, 15 years ago. And I started making nukes. And then
but the money starts to compound. The more items you get in your repertoire that you're doing.
Yeah. Well, what triggered me is when I started selling honey.
Charlie just said he got triggered. He's woke.
Huh?
I'm just picking. I said,
well, anyway,
he got triggered.
I started selling honey. I'm like, whoa, I can make some money here.
Mm-hmm.
It showed me that, there can be a cash revenue fund coming in from this hobby. And I started selling honey, and I would sell out. And then I got to the point where I got into a bunch of bee clubs, and I found the right people that had nice honey that I really like. And I started wholesale buying that honey along with my honey to keep my customers. I wasn't making as much money that way, but doing it that way and selling. And your
compound said, Charlie, hold on. Let me get my wife in here to hear this.
Where's this?
The honeybee compound.
So honeybee compound, who
he's up your way, I think, right?
I don't know.
Pennsylvania, maybe.
I don't know. I haven't got him written down in my thing. But anyway, the money started flowing, as I started building a customer base of honey customers. It started going out the door, and I would sell out. I mean, I didn't have a lot of honey. I might have 200 or 300 pounds, and I would go out the door real quick. And then I started doing the nukes, and I started selling some nukes, and that was like $175 or whatever it was at the time. I mean, it was more like 150 something, because you could buy a package for $125 or something like that, or less. And I started doing that, then I got bigger and bigger as time progressed, and I kept investing. I went from an 8-frame to 18-frame extractor, and and I still used a 5-gallon honey bucket for that uncapping thing that snaps on the 5-gallon bucket.
But the thing is, that works for you, and you're incrementally changing as you need to change it. Like you've been looking for 2 years. At least a year, I've been talking to you about the damn honey lifter, the box lifter.
Oh,
right?
You mean, the hive lifter
on it. But I would not be surprised if you called me tomorrow and said, Bob, I finally did it. I just decided my back hurts too much. I'm getting this thing, and we're going to try it. I mean,
well, did you see Joseph? Did you see Joseph?
Yeah, Joseph has one.
He got the one where it's kind of like a dolly system, and that's kind of like Brad's. And I'm still looking, I'm watching, and I'm interested. I'm watching that dolly system, seeing how the I like the idea where he can raise the boxes up and then tilt it back and it'll stay there while I'm changing things out. You know, I can be lifting honey supers off, leaning it back, and then I can work the brood chamber and then lower it all back down.
But
And I don't have to lift 100 pounds of honey supers.
with the
So,
with the way this conversation's going, as far as it's not something that we just said year one, we're gonna have 50 colonies, we're gonna buy all this crap, and this is how it's gonna be. I mean, I wish I would have said that the first year, to be honest with you, that was my goal. But when you start, that's not your goal. Your goal is, I'm going to try, get a couple colonies, maybe one or two, and, see how it goes.
that's exactly the way I started out. I mean, I was like, I took the bee class and I'm like, I don't know if I want to get bees or not. And I said, well, I already took the class. I might as well get a box of bees. So that's what I was too late to get a package. So I got a nuke.
Thank you, Fox Plus. 226 viewers.
Do what?
Fox Plus just hit us with 226 viewers.
How's he do that?
I don't know. Some things are better left unsaid.
Okay.
Now 249. We're growing here. Thank you.
He needs to come over on my Friday night bee chat.
So
he needs to. Maybe he can help me out on my my YouTube channel and get me monetized.
So this looks familiar, right? This is my honey jar slush fund money, right?
Okay.
So I've pulled a little bit of honey this year. So with that being said, you guys know that I emptied this thing out to buy those first round of nukes that I bought, right? Cash wise. I emptied it out, bought nukes, emptied it out, bought more nukes, and I counted it I was counting it when I was talking to Ed, and it's like $2,200 in there. So it's back to that compounding thing where not only are you making money from your honey, you're making money from your nuke sales. You're making money if you sell a queen. You just having different revenues, and that is just a something that you got to grow into. Like, I didn't order all this equipment at one time and get it all at once. I mean, even last year, I ordered the extractor, and then it was a few weeks later, a month later, I ordered the uncapping tank and the tabletop uncapper. Then it was It was a little bit later than that, and I ordered the bottling tank, right? And then when I got the bottling tank, I did get the valve at the same time. But it's one of those things that you have to figure it out. And I think when we start, we don't have I hate to say it, I don't think it's a clear picture, right? Because when you start, you're starting off, I just want a couple. And then you're like, well, maybe, prime example, I'm going to call Brian's name, Brian Coper. Brian Coper was, I just want 10. And everybody was like, hashtag Brian 20, hashtag Brian 20, right? And then he got back. Now he's at 20 or 20 something. So as you start growing your apiary, then you have to start making infrastructure changes, right? Outside of just bee boxes and stuff. Now, some people have a wealth of time. They're not doing, their day job is keeping bees. They've graduated past a regular job and they've retired and they've got time. So, it's just very individual that you need to, I don't know if you should call setting a goal, or if you just need to kind of know the direction you want to go, because otherwise you do what I did. You buy an 8-frame extractor, you outgrow it within the first year. So you get rid of it and then you replace it. And then you got another bottleneck. Your bottleneck is the amount of equipment or amount of frames that you can uncap at a time, right? So then you need another piece of equipment. Well, then you get that piece of equipment. Well, now what's the bottleneck? Well, the bottleneck is now I got all this damn wax in my honey that I can't get out, which is slowing down my ability to drain my extractor and drain my uncapping tank. So then you look at a way around that. So that's kind of how I've done it. I mean, it's please, guys, I don't ever want anybody to think, well, he's just bragging. He's got, I guarantee you, I probably make one of the least, unless you're retired, I probably make the least, some of the least amount of money of anybody on the stream as far as from a day regular employment job. Me and Alex are probably running hand in hand.
Yeah, I have a day job I have to contend with.
Yeah, so I mean,
well, I think that, it's like you were saying, Bob, is you start out one or two hives, and then you like, hey, I really like this hobby, and then let's get a few more and a few more and a few more, and then we started making honey, and like I say, I happened to buy a guy out with an 8-frame extractor, and it lasted for several years, and I used a 5-gallon bucket up until 2 or 3 years ago for uncapping. And I just kept looking at $700 for uncapping. All it is a metal tank, and they're always having a bar with a wooden or a screw with point. Well, I'm using plastic frames. That point does not work for plastic. It only works for wood. So then when Tracy from Hive Butler came out with the Hive Butler uncapping tank, I said, oh, it's got those slots that I can put frames in. I said, I can put 2 wooden frames in, take the uncapper. It's called the cappings uncapper, I think it's called. It fits around on the rim of your 5-gallon bucket, which I already had. It has slots in for the plastic frames. And I screwed that thing to 2 frames and then slide that on the Hive Butler. And that's why I decided a Hive Butler. And prior to that, I was buying a Man Lake uncapping tank, but it was damaged. And it was, it was like forever trying to get anything out of them. So I got the Hive Butler. It works great. It's $200. It's way cheaper. It's good enough for what I do. And then last year, it actually took me 11 months right out of COVID. I think it was 20.
I remember that because you get your tank yet? No.
Yeah, it took me 11 months from Man Lake, or not, from Max Ant to get my 25-gallon unbottling tank. Now, with that in mind, at the time, years ago, a 16-gallon, which is their smallest one, was like $1,200. And I kept looking at that thing. I says, how can I justify $1,200 just to bottle honey? And it got to the point where, okay, I made a hot box for myself down in the basement out of a refrigerator. I carry 50 pounds up the staircase, put it on the kitchen table in a 5-gallon bottling bucket with a gate on it. And I did that for years. And then your shoulders and whatever are aching and everything else. And then sometimes the honey would get a little bit of crystallization problem, and you're putting it in a water vat on the stove. And I'm all about efficiency. And I finally said, time to get a bottling tank. And then luckily, my county actually had agricultural grants, and I got a grant where it paid for about half of that bottling tank that I bought. And so I got the 25-gallon, but why did I get the 25? Because I had grew my amount of honey that was coming in to the point where, like, okay, I've got all this honey. I've got it in 5-gallon buckets, and it's crystallizing on me, even though it's in a hot box. It's slow process. I need a tank or something to put a lot of my honey in. And so I got the bottling tank. I got a scissors lift from Harbor Freight because I watched Mike Berry have that idea. And I got it set up now on the back porch where it keeps the honey nice and warm. I just tonight, it wasn't an hour ago, I went out there, I bottled, I don't know, six, I don't know, 20 some pounds of honey. And it's like you just go into a faucet and go click, 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 click. Your bottling is done. And it's just, you don't have to carry nothing or do anything. It's just keep your tank full. And it work, it's more efficient and easier on me and my back. And and all that stuff. That's what I'm always looking at. And I still have the hot box. I still keep at least 3 buckets in the hot box along with 25 gallons in that tank. And so you kind of grow into what you need to keep things easier and more efficient. Now, like the uncapping tank, it went from the 5-gallon bucket to that. Talk about no mess, no fuss. It's like now, instead of me dripping stuff all over the place and everything, I got that high butler tank. All the cappings go in that. At the end of the day, I just put it comes with a lid. You just snap the lid on it. It keeps the bugs out of it. I'm very, fussy about, keeping stuff clean and because it's food product. And I can close it up and be healthy, far as health safety or food safety. And that made, I don't have the mess with that uncapping tank. And it also recovers more honey from my uncapping. So the amount of honey that you recover from one season's uncapping, it'll pay for that thing in a heartbeat.
I thought of Alex today.
What did I do?
See this on the bottom? The honey uncapping trailer?
Yes, that's what I need.
Paradise Honey. It's a whole line. And it looks like you put the box in up at the big entrance on the side there. And it looks like it's got a trolley system on the top where the box comes out at the end. So you can uncap your boxes. So
yeah, well, what that trolley system is, I've seen them on like those Cowans, is that when you debox the box with the frames and you keep pushing that box and it goes to the front of the line where you can put your frames back into the boxes.
Yeah, mine's going to be a slightly more primitive than that. I do have the nice extractor and a small uncapping tank.
Well, when I saw that, I was just thinking that would be a good, when you're building it, it might be something good to look at. The photos
for the layout.
For the layout, exactly. So you see how this one, it's got a couple different ones. The way, obviously, that's got a full extraction line in it. And the boxes come out the side, and could you imagine the bees that'll be flying on the outside of that trailer right there with those freshly extracted boxes right there?
That's a bit too large. Once I need an extraction line like that, I intend on having a building.
Oh, look at that. Honey pumps. Dun, dun, dun. So, yeah, I like this too. This was pretty neat. It's an uncapping tank, but you pump your honey out of your clarifier up through this tube, and it goes into these mesh strainers to finally, does a fine filter on them. And I guess you got them with covers or something like that. So it's just,
all sorts of nice gadgetry for beekeeping.
Yeah, one day.
Where's that company located at?
Finland. This one's in Finland. Remember they had those smart boxes at the Hive Life conference, the new smart boxes that were on the right in front of, if you were standing at the patty place, right, where you're picking up all your pre-order patties right there.
Yeah.
If you turned around, they were right behind you. And they had this new box that's like a smart box with all the different gadgetry in it, scales and all that stuff. So was just checking that site out, looking at honey pumps. And they got a Chinese one. They got a Chinese one that has a little gear pump, but it's basically got a strainer on the end of a tube that you drop down in your honey, and it pulls the honey through that mesh up out of it, right? But then you still got the same problem that when the cappings get in that mesh, it's clogged. So what do you got to do? Pull the thing out, make a big mess, and take it, take the thing off, wash it out, dry it, put it back on. I don't know. Philip, you're quiet over there.
Yeah, well, you guys are talking way over my head right now.
No,
You jumped to full extraction line. You just bought a $3,500 uncapper, and now you're buying a full extraction line. I think that's a pretty impressive.
No, I'm not buying one. I was just looking at it. I was thinking of Alex because he's talking about building his extraction system in his in a trailer. So I
gotta get the trailer first.
Yeah, you did a couple of things that made me want to jump on. I used that exact program from Avery to make my labels.
Yeah, that's it's pretty handy. They don't charge you the setup fee, and if you change it, you just change it on the label, and you don't have to.
Mine's pretty simple though.
Yep, I've got some round ones I do on my mason jars too, like that.
The 2-inch ones seem to fit both sizes that I sell.
Well, the good thing is if you take the ring off of the top of it and then put the label on and and it fits really great underneath that lid.
Yeah, it fits right in the groove of this one. On the larger jar I have, let's see, it's the same label, but it still fits. Let's see if I can do this here. Still fits pretty good on the larger lid. So
yeah, that's one size fits all. That's a good thing.
And it fits on the lid that's a little smaller than this. It just overlaps that little rise in the lid.
Hey, do you know what the circumference is of a pint jar? I haven't measured it, but I've been looking for labels to do that.
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
I might just.
I went by the local farmers market this morning to see what the honey scene was there. They had one person selling honey, and I think it's a pretty big outfit that comes in and tries to. They're local. I'm not saying they're not local, but they're probably 30 miles away or something. But
right.
Yeah, she was charging $16 for a pound jar. And
really?
And I think she was doing
$1 an ounce,
like 27 maybe for a 2 pound or something like that. It was a little bit of a drop for a 2 pound, but yeah. And then I went by and talked to the people that ran the farmers market, and they said they have one more person that comes by, but they always run out of honey, so they don't come by until middle of summer or fall. So,
and that's what it's kind of about, right? I mean, for me, I've got 1 pound and pound and a half. And so far, knock on wood, every year I've sold every bit of honey that I've been able to get my hands on. And hopefully some of this improvements like the uncapping system and all that will help me get more honey out of what I've got, out of the caps and everything else. So,
well, I sell spring honey and fall honey, and I keep them separate. It seemed like that company, theirs looked like fall honey. I don't think they had any spring honey left, and they probably haven't harvested any yet for this year. But they weren't saying it was fall honey or spring. They were just saying it was honey.
My fall honey is usually darker than my spring honey.
Yeah, I don't know if the camera picks it up. This is my fall honey. It looks like molasses, and the spring honey is
kind of like buckwheat.
That's spring honey is real light.
That's what my spring honey is.
Well, you can see the difference there, fall honey and spring honey.
And
basswood honey is even paler than that. It's almost white.
Oh, yeah. See how the label fits on a real small jar? It kind of covers the whole cap, but it still fits. So
now, how much you get for that little small jar?
I don't even sell this one.
I was doing $5 for those and $10 for the bigger ones, but
yeah,
I could probably get more.
I sell this 15 ounces for $13.50. This is the Richland honey. I didn't have much of it from last year. And
how much was that one that you just held up?
$13.50.
For how many ounces?
15. And then this one is the Capel honey. I sell it for $13 for It's 13.6 ounces. But this jar is really expensive. This jar cost me like $2.50. It's a really nice, thick, heavy. You know, Capel's kind of an affluent community, so.
Can you heat shrink it?
Yeah, I put the shrink wrap around it. That's cheap, and I think it just kind of
makes it look more like it came from a store type of deal.
Yeah. So, and I use the silver. I buy this with the label. These are about $1.25 a jar. These jars are. But I use the gold on this. This is more, you know, this is country honey, so it's kind of more traditional, and this is more modern, the urban honey. So that's what I do. I want to show you guys something I bought though from that company was selling honey. Let me go grab it.
Dennis wants to decrystallize honey. Well, don't we all decrystallize our honey?
I sell mine, man. I just put it in the chicken egg incubator and warm it up to 97 and leave it in there until I need to sell it. Then I pull it out.
Okay. I bought this while I was there.
Wow, that's like a 2-ounce jar.
Yeah, exactly. Guess how much I paid for that?
$5.
That's the name of the company. 6. You're close. That's kind of like a little makeup jar, you know, almost. But this honey right here is bourbon barrel aged honey.
So they take it out and put it in a oak barrel or something.
Yeah, they put it in a charred oak barrel. And I don't know how long they age it, but I was like, I got to try that. So I got it, and as soon as I got to the car, I stuck my finger in it. It is really good, and you can really taste that. It's got that bourbon background from that charred oak barrel. So I got to
think about it.
I got to figure out how to do that.
They probably don't do anything but take an old oak barrel and pump their honey into it and let it sit and then pull it back out.
They probably char the inside of it with a torch and then stick it in there. Yeah.
You could probably take a strainer bag.
Or they may buy old bourbon barrels too and put them in there, because that might even pick up a little more of that flavor, because it really has a good. It's not overwhelming.
See, we're talking Beaconomics and honey and everything, and Brian's in the chat, and I'm surprised he hadn't popped in here already. He's ready to blow us up right now.
He's the teacher.
So it's all about value added. It's taking something that you normally get $10 for and finding a way to get $15 for the same thing.
Well, right? I was surprised that the lady that's selling that, all she had on her counter was honey, and it was a real.
So that's 2 ounces.
When I saw what they were selling, I was like, I got to get set up here, because I can do, you know, I can bring some bee equipment, and I can offer like every hour and a half, I'll do a talk on honey. And I mean, there's all kind of things I could do to blow them out of the water. They were not.
But Phil, think about how much they're making for that. They're making $48 a pound for that honey at 2 ounces a piece.
Yeah. Yeah. But she didn't have a long line there either, so it might be a little bit overpriced. But like I said, the guy that comes in from the next town over, first of all, when I stopped by there and said, you know, I'm a beekeeper and I think I'm going to have more honey that I can sell on my own, she said, well, we already have 2 beekeepers here. And I said, do you have any beekeepers that live in Capel? She says, no, we don't have those. You need to call so-and-so and see if they can set you up. So,
do bees like music?
Oh.
I don't know. They were in that speaker that I got. I don't know.
Or maybe they were trying to use a speaker to say something.
Yeah. Someone was in the chat say, turn on the music and see what happens to the bees in the colony. They probably come hauling butt out of there. But the thing, you know, it's, for me, I'm like Charlie. It's about efficiency and how can I do this faster? And it may take me longer to pay back my stuff. When I say pay back my stuff, it's not really paying it back, because I've already made that money with my bees. So I'm just borrowing them, I guess, the fortune the bees have created.
Yeah, it's not really it's the speed, but I consider not so much the speed as can it make the work process easier? That's
right.
what I'm always looking about.
So Bob, when you talked about selling those nukes, would you have to also sell your equipment?
No, so the way I sell my nukes is I charge $200 if they're in a pro nuke. If they bring their own box, they pay $185, right? If I'm switching my nuke to their boxes. So I'm not selling my wooden equipment. So if they want to buy 20 nukes, hopefully they got at least 20 colonies to put those nukes in that they would have to bring, and we'd put them over in it for them. Or I could deliver the nukes to their house and put them in it that way, but they're in Greenville. But
well, you're selling the frames, but that's the only thing you're losing, right?
yeah,
Well,
so you got to remember this is a nuke flip, though, right? So out of those 5 frames, only 2 of those frames did I provide for the bees to draw out. The other 3 came with the nuke when I bought it, or the package plus. So,
my opinion of that is, money today is better than money tomorrow.
Yep. So, and that's my thing. But then I wouldn't be able to say I'm a sideliner anymore. I'd be a backyard beekeeper. But
you also can. You may not can get that many back this year, but you can get close to it. This would be a good time to do it if you're going to do it. If you did that,
I was a little bit confused why the guy would be right around the 1st of June wanting to buy nukes.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me either, but it gives you time to reset. I wouldn't do this deal in September because then you're giving up future income.
But if the guy's going to bring me $4,000 cash to buy nukes, done, bro.
I'd do it for sure.
Be done. I'd be, and that's not even all of my nukes, right? So some of my nukes are 5/5. So I would simply pull the box that has the queen and the eggs and everything laying in it and drop the box that's remaining with more brood in it down on that stand and let them make a queen probably.
The only thing that could be better is if he'll come 1 week after you get through harvesting your honey. Then that'd be perfect because you would have time to deal with it. I wish somebody had come to me and offered to buy 20 of mine because then I wouldn't be sitting here wondering if I could do grafting or more splits because I really have nothing to put bees in.
But to be honest with you,
did that for me, I'd be like, I could get to play a little more before the end of the year.
The guy approached Amir about it, and Amir tried to call him. He didn't answer the phone, and then he tried to call him again. He didn't answer the phone. So it may not happen, but I mean, there's people out there looking, and I haven't advertised. I could just pop it up. Hey, I got nukes and see what happens. But like I said, I'm trying to expand. So if they sell, great. If they don't sell, also great. And, so we'll just see how it goes.
Hey, Bob, I sent you an email.
Sorry.
I made my starter finisher today for grafting next week.
Right.
And I sent you an image on how it looks.
Yeah, Queen V, I am in the Dallas area. I enjoyed watching you on there. I saw you guys. I actually watched the rerun enjoyed learning about your operation.
Here, there it is. It finally came across. That looks good, man. Let me present that. We will show your starter finisher. Where is it? This one? Yep. Share the stream. Make it big so everybody can see. That looks good, man.
And it's full of emerging brood too, so it'll get even bigger by the time I graft.
And are you going to do 2 frames like James does? Or are you just going to do one at a time?
I'm going to do 1 frame, 1 graft. I only need 15. Well, no, I lost a few hives. So I need about 17 or 18 queens. So I'm going to graft maybe 30, maybe.
Whoop, sorry, I hit the wrong button. So you need 15 or 16 queens, so you're going to graft like 30 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
because I don't want to have too many extras because I'll have to destroy them, or maybe put 2 queens.
Have
you not learned anything from our chats?
I don't have the right to sell. I need a permit for that.
What do you mean a permit? We'll just slip them on the back door. Come on around the back door and I'll give you one.
You need a permit. If I get caught selling bees without being inspected, I'll get in trouble.
Okay, so
we're lucky in Texas. We have to be inspected, or we can provide an affidavit saying that they don't have disease to the best of our knowledge. So
Yeah, but I only need one inspection. Once I get the okay, I can sell it. But even if I like asked today, it wouldn't be
oh
there.
yeah, it'd be months. Yeah, it'd be months.
Yeah.
Okay, so the math that I used for that, which obviously doesn't mean you have to follow that, but what I did was if I needed 15, I grafted over, right? Like you did, but or are going to. But then you gotta you have to also calculate in your rate of return of those virgin queens, right? Yep, cash only. Don't
Hey.
sell them, Alex. Trade them for dollar bills. Trade, yeah, it's a trade. You're not selling them.
Alex,
There's also the fact that I only have 27 nukes, counting my Jester boxes. I built 8. I bought 13. I have a double nuke for another resource hive. So 13 plus 8, that's 21, I think. 25, 26 plus. Yeah, something around 27. I'm really bad at math.
hey Alex, how about a
Yeah.
free queen? How about a free queen with each bee lesson?
Of $200. No, $50.
It could be a 15-minute lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not many beekeepers in my area. There's, I think, 5. I tried contacting most of them, and the reaction I got is leave me alone.
I bet you.
So
You don't have a bee club, Alex?
Huh?
They don't have bee clubs up there?
There's no bee club here, at least.
I bet
And
you could contact old Brad down there and say, "Hey, I'm going to have some extra queens. I'll give you a deal on them."
Okay, Alex, I got to hear that. Leave me alone in French. Come on, help us out.
with the Quebec slang, it would sound like "laisse-moi tranquille" ou "collez-moi la paix," depending on how rude he is. Yeah, when somebody says "laisse-moi la paix," like if
Yes, well, I
would
got
be,
to
the English
remember that.
equivalent would be "leave me the fuck alone."
Okay,
Yeah.
There we went. Demonetized right there.
Sorry, I didn't intend to.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds like them Frenchies up there are very nice.
It depends. Like a lot of Canadians, like get the reputation we're ultra nice. Nah.
You
A
can't
lot
be
of
French
jerks
and be
up here,
you can't be
just
French
like anywhere
and
else.
ultra nice. Come on,
Sorry.
No. You cannot be French and ultra nice. Not to Americans.
Well, technically, I'm not French. I'm Canadian. I speak French.
French
Not the same
Canadian.
thing.
Yeah, I knew a guy. Actually, he was super nice. His name was Gaetan at Work Construction. He was from up there. He was French Canadian, but he really was nice. But he would cuss. He would cuss people out, but it was always in. It was just
very nicely though.
It was his way of communicating. It really had nothing to do with the kind of guy.
Cuss them out in French, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds so beautiful."
One of my brothers did that. I went to a BlizzCon. I don't know if you guys know about World of Warcraft. It's a video game.
You went to BlizzCon?
2005, the first one.
Yeah, I was big time.
I went there and we went to Subway, and the cashier had an attitude. She heard us speak French, and she her attitude immediately changed and asked my brother to say something in French, and he just cussed her out in French, and she said, "Oh, that's so nice." Yeah, he called her something like a fat cow in French because she was rude.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like anywhere else in the world. There's good and bad people everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We might be more polite as an average, but trust me, Canadians can be just as big a jerk as anyone else.
Yeah. Russell said he knew some French from New Orleans, and they had a temper. Well, yeah, and if you run into people from the Quebec area, they sound just like some of the people in New Orleans. It's like you can just pick one up and drop them in the other area. To us, for outsiders, they may not sound the same to you guys, but yeah, like the Cajun and the French Canadian, very, very similar.
Well, I think they migrated from the same area of France, both the Cajun and French Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
So there's surely a different dialect because it's somewhat isolated. But my guess is,
Well, apparently my Amazon account's in risk of being deactivated thanks to the legal government.
Why?
It says I got some information I got to update. Of course, then finding that said information I need to update is hard. Hard to find.
Well, yeah, like the nicest beekeeper in my area, I asked him to watch him work. He gave me an hour of his time, and he basically wanted to be left alone after that. He wasn't impolite like some others, but yeah, I got the vibe like, please don't bug me anymore. So that's why I had to teach myself beekeeping. Basically, there's no bee clubs in the Laurentians that I could find, and the beekeepers here are minding their own business. They're very happy when you buy queens from them or honey from them, but that relationship ends there. They're not too keen on apprentices or stuff like that. And at this point, I don't think I need a permanent mentor. Sometimes I ask Ian Stepler when I have questions. I send him an email, and he's always replied to me with something useful. This guy is incredible. What about you, Phil? How did you learn beekeeping?
Well, my mentor is YouTube. I probably started out.
Oh, you're the same as me.
I probably started out watching Cayman Reynolds, 3 years ago, and then started picking up on other different channels and watching what people do. Now I'm more interested in watching people like you and people that are kind of on my same level. I just get more out of that than I like to watch Ian Stepler and Brad and those guys because it's just entertaining to me to watch how a larger operation works. But
it's an inspiration too.
I don't go there to learn anything. If I need to learn something, I go to people that have less hives than that and how they do things.
The first beekeeper I watched was what's his name? Jim from Vino Farm. That's the guy that basically got me into beekeeping. Then I stumbled on Don the Fat Bee Man. Then it was
he can be a little bit rude at times.
Then it was Dave from Barnyard Bees. Then I found Cayman, Ian, and from there on, I like more and more. I'm subscribed to 60 beekeeping channel, and trying to watch and comment on every video is pretty much impossible.
Right.
I do try. Watching at 2 times speed helps.
I also read Beekeeping for Dummies. Learned a lot from that before I got bees. Charlie, you had a pretty interesting story, and as you were saying that, I was like, well, you might have got a better deal than I did because I bought 2 colonies of bees and all the guys' equipment for $1,000, so that wasn't a bad deal either. But I did I got my little 3-frame hand extractor, but it's tangential. But it is a nice brand. It's a $440 setup if you buy it new. I think it's Man Lake. And I got all that stuff and very similar to yours, but I'm probably like you are in year 3 as far as the kind of equipment. But
I just kind of as I've gotten bigger and more, like you say, more honey, I'll say that's when I said, okay, I need to go from the small extractor to an 18 frame extractor. And then I need to get it more It's like when I extract, I put like, what's the brown paper you buy at Home Depot?
Yeah, the construction paper.
Yeah, what's that
Yeah.
called?
It's just called a protection paper. Yeah.
Yeah, but
They call it yeah, craft paper.
no, it's not craft paper. It's
Oh,
rosin paper.
oh,
It's
okay.
got a coating around it to where it will soak up the honey, but it won't let it go through.
Oh, it's got a plastic on the bottom.
Now it's got impregnation of some kind of
Oh, okay.
rosin residue. It's what you'll see, like if you're in construction and they want to protect brand new wooden staircases, they will run all that kind of paper on
Right.
top of it where it won't scuff it or anything. But anyway, I tape the floor down to catch any drippings. And I used to have this chair, and then the bucket's kind of tilted like a normal chair. You know, the seat is always kind of backwards a little bit. And I used to have to cover the chair up with this paper, and you would get, honey. It would almost say splatter, but it would, it's draining here or there or whatever. And there was always a mess kind of around that chair and the bucket and all this kind of stuff, and trying to deal with the capping drainage, where I put a gate in the bottom of the bucket. And it was just one messy mess after another with that 5-gallon bucket. So I finally, like I say, the Hive Butler came along. I grabbed that. Now all the honey goes into the bottom chamber. All your cappings are from top. At the end of the day, you got a lid. You cover the whole thing up.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. That's a pretty good deal for its category.
Most of the time, you can get it for $200 with free shipping. She always runs a few sales. If you keep an eye out.
I may get that after the spring. I'm going to try to do something on the cheap this spring, but I may do that because I've got an uncapper, which I've got an uncapping tank, which is a plastic tub. It's a commercial grade, and it's got another tub that sits in it, and it's perforated.
Is that one of the Man Lake jobs?
But it fills up with wax capping so fast that I've got to figure out.
Well, the Hive Butler might not be, still might be too small for you.
Well, my plan this year, I'm just going to try this, but I'm going to take 5-gallon buckets and I'm going to make my own little wooden piece that I can set the frame on like you used to do with your little thing. And I'm going to put a paint strainer in that 5-gallon bucket, and I'm going to carve the wax cappings into that. And then I'm going to take the frame itself while they're waiting to be extracted and put them in my tank. So it'll hold, the 8 frames and I'm just going to have 3 or 4 or 5-gallon buckets that I'm going to carve the cappings into. And then I'm going to try to suspend those, pull it up in the bucket, and then put the cap on it so it's hanging, and just let it drain into the bucket for a few days. We'll see if that works.
You get the American Bee Journal?
No.
You should. Because I just got it today, and it has a article kind of about what you're talking about, where you take 2 5-gallon buckets and you drill holes in the one.
Yeah, I've seen a video about that. I wasn't going to do that, but it's similar to that. Yeah.
It shows. Let's see if we can get it together.
Pull it back a little bit. It showed before you put it through.
Right there.
Yeah.
And see that yellow thing on top of that bucket? That's the capping uncapper. It's like $25 for that thing.
Yeah.
And,
they got holes drilled in the lid of one, and it seems like the honey would overwhelm that and come out the sides. But let's see.
Well, anyway, I mean, it just made when I got that uncapping tank, it almost eliminated any honey mess, and I was able to close it up at the end of the evening and keep anything out of it. And it drained. And I actually had it on a scissors lift, so I could jack it up to a certain height that I wanted.
Well, my biggest issue is I don't have space to put all that stuff. I mean,
that's what's nice about the Hive Butler. It's small. It's relatively small. It's not 4 feet long. It's 3 feet or whatever it is. You can pick it up and you carry it in your back room wherever your storage is and just put it up on the shelf.
This extractor that I just bought, the 8-framer that Bob put me onto, is right around the corner, and my wife's going, "Where's this thing going to live? It can't live in my living room."
No, but don't you have a
I'm
back
glad
porch
you
or
said that.
something?
We're getting a steel building next week. It's being built.
I've got a little small steel building. It's full of junk, and of course my workshop. I extracted honey in my workshop the first week, but it's so full of sawdust. It's nasty in there. You know, you have to clean it up.
You don't want. That's not the best place for it.
Don't do it, Jared. Don't do it.
What's he doing?
He says he's looking at a 6 deep or 12 medium frame radial to start with. If you're going big, if you're gonna expand, just rip that Band-Aid off.
Okay.
How many hives you got, Jarrett? Now
he's sitting on 20 boxes of honey right now and still adding.
Yeah.
I'd
Buy once, cry once.
Yeah.
Well, hold on a second, though.
The cheapest buy is always the first buy. Get yourself at least a 20 frame, let's say a licensed extractor. I know. And then Jarrett does have a sort of a honey. Well, he's got a storage house out there. The last time I was there at his house, and he can make it into a honey house, I think.
Your extractor can only extract as many frames as you can uncap.
Correct.
And if you don't have in my opinion, I just want to, of course, this is going to be my first electric extractor. So I was hand cranking. So I would have to stop uncapping.
Now, let me ask you something. Why would you even think about having an extractor that's a hand crank?
That's the one I bought from the guy. That's the one I bought when I bought all his stuff. Okay. He had 2
that would have been the first one I would have sold.
He had 2 columns. It's for sale if someone wants to buy it. But the thing is, when I did that, okay, I was like, if this thing was running while I was uncapping, it wouldn't be so bad. If it just had a motor, you know, at least I wouldn't be sitting there not doing one thing or the other.
This ain't the 1920s. This is 2023.
Philip's running into exactly what happened to me. Just get the checkbook out, Philip. It's coming.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Now you got the electric extractor.
I don't
want
the 40 frame extractor because it takes me 30 minutes to uncap 30 frames, or it's going to take me more than that to uncap 30 frames the way I do it. So,
well, see, that's what my problem was. I had the extractor like you've got there, and then I had a bottleneck because I had nowhere to set my frames once they were uncapped.
My next thing will be an uncapping tank just to put the frames in after I carve it while I'm waiting to get 8 of them together to put in there. That's for sure. I could see that being.
Why don't you just do this? You take an
kind of have that now,
like I got, like at Hive Butler. You uncap 8 frames and you put them in the tank. You know, and then spin it. You know,
and then by the time it's done, you got 8 more sitting there behind it.
Right. Exactly right. That's
Hive Butler will hold, I think, 10 or something like that. I'm not sure.
Well, that's my plan is to do that. I'm just going to put them in my uncapping tank, but I'm going to, because if it won't hold my frames and all the wax cappings. So I'm going to this spring, I'm going to uncap into 5-gallon buckets and set them in the uncapping tank that I have because it'll hold them without cappings. And I'll see how that goes. But I do have my eye on that Hive Butler because I've been looking at that and I was like, yeah, it's $200, but it's everything else in that category is $200 too. So and it at least you get 2 uses out of it.
Do you sell 20 pounds of honey a year?
Yes. I've heard this argument.
20 pounds will buy the Hive Butler. I mean, that's a week's worth of sales.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, now if you really want to get into it, then you get yourself a license or whatever. What are they? 4 footers? They're about 4 foot long.
They've got 1,000 millimeter, which is a meter, right? So 1 meter is 3 feet roughly, maybe a little bit more. And then I've got the 1,500 that is a meter and a half. So 4.5 feet, 5 foot long, something like that.
Yeah. But now see, the problem with Phil is he says he doesn't have any room. So he doesn't have room for a 4.5 foot extraction tank.
Yeah.
But he probably has room this here hive butler is no bigger than a overgrown tote.
The hive butler is nice because you can take the uncapping part out and use it to transport bees or catch swarms or all
Yeah, it's a
that.
multi-use thing.
Yeah.
I don't use it as a multi-use thing, but yeah, you could catch a swarm with it if you buy I would not spend the money for the ventilated roof or top.
But
myself.
you can't tell me that this isn't a path to addiction, because I watch Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead.
Oh,
He's got two of the, I guess they're Man Lake, those gray plastic uncappers, which are very similar to the Hive Butler. He's got two of those, and then he went out and bought the one from Hilco, the big stainless steel one like Joey has from Hilco. And yeah, is Joey on here? Because Joey's got some nice. Of course, Joey has a really nice honey house too. So,
well, I will if I ever finish it. If I ever finish the walls and put the electric in it like it needs to be, and
honey house too.
Yeah, I want enough to take care of what I need to get done, but that's what I really need is a honey house, and it's probably going to have to be at the farm. It's not going to be here. I don't have room for it.
Or you could do like I plan to do, get a enclosed trailer.
Yeah, any excuse to go to the farm is worth it.
Let me see.
But yeah, I mean, if you got small amount of room, the Butler would be the best one, I think.
Hive Butler's made. That's the name of the company, Hive Butler.
Hey, Charlie, on that hive lifter, I've seen like Mike Berry has one. Nathan at Duck River Honey has one.
Joey's got one now.
He's got the other style. Joey does.
I've seen all those guys get those out right after they bought them and make a video, but I don't see them really using those things, or maybe they're not making videos. They look a little cumbersome to me. I don't know. That's just me.
The problem with the one with Duck River and Mike Berry is it's kind of like a front end loader, and then you got to raise the thing up in order to get it to sit back on itself. Because what I want to do, I want to come up to those hives right there. It's flat ground. I want to be able to put, let's say there's 3 supers on that one right there. I want to be able to lift all 3 of those honey supers up, back it up, and then go into the brood chamber and let's say equalize it or something, and then put that set of supers back down on there. And that's, I'm the same way with you, Philip. I'm like, okay, you got the one like Joseph has where it's kind of like a dolly, and you bring it up and it raises it up, and then you back it back and then come back, and it kind of sits on its angle. And then you got the one like Mike has where it seems like you can set those arms in a little bit better and raise it up, but you're kind of pushing down on it. The only way with that is I've talked to him about it, where if you had a box or something to set your weight, let it lower it down on a pallet or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I can't, the way my hives are set up, I can't maneuver something like that around inside my bee yard. The hives are not positioned, I've got to be backing into colonies trying to pick one up.
See, mine are not, you see what I've got. I just got
yours are all in a line, so you're okay. I have to have a fence around mine because of cows and stuff.
Yeah, well, you need a bigger fence. Like Brad was talking to somebody, he was on a video, and somebody asked him how, maybe it was Alex or something, but he's got 6 or 8 feet. The fence is away from his hives where he can maneuver.
Yeah, I have the space for that, but then that's just more to mow and weed eat and whatnot too. So I may do that when I set up my second yard. I may even put my second yard on pallets.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I found a site for a second bee yard, and I'm gonna set it up like Ian puts his hives, like the spacing. So it's about like 20 feet by 70 feet for 40 hives, and because I have to use an electric fence, the guy has cattle.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna set it with plenty of space. That way, when I get a lifter, I can just walk on in.
And what kind of lifter are you looking at, Alex?
For starter, the one similar to what came in Reynolds showcased. Then eventually an easy loader.
Are you talking about the one that's mounted in the back of the truck that he did in Hawaii, or a different one?
No, he was the one with it was the one like Mike Berry had, I think.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen him
Right.
showcase that. I missed that one. I like that one that the homemade one that the guy in Hawaii built, mounted in the back of his truck. That was really cool. It was similar to a easy loader, but
And there's
It's
there's two stores, one in Quebec and one in Ontario. They have the rights to sell easy loaders, so you don't have to import them from Australia. So you save quite a bit of money. I think they're 40,000 instead of 60. Yeah, ordering from Australia.
I will be ordering that next week.
No, I don't know.
No, it's not anytime soon. Not for me, at least. But I want to get one.
I thought James was going to buy that one at Hive Life. He stood over there and ogled it all that for a while.
I'm confused for James right now because I know he's crunches numbers. He's very analytical, and I'm really interested to see how he ends up with extraction this year. What he's going to do. I mean, he's got time because their flow doesn't start yet, but it won't be long. It's not going to be that long.
Speaking of flow, I've been kind of like up here now down at the farm because we had such a burst of wildflowers like I've never seen. They all filled up all the drawn comb that I gave them, but then I started putting undrawn frames on there, and they didn't seem to be wanting to touch those. So I ended up moving those back below the queen excluder just to get them to maybe they would go at them. But here in Capel, I've got all my drawn comb on the colonies, but they hadn't filled them up a week ago. I've got like 90 pounds maybe of honey on there, and I've got like 13 boxes of drawn comb. But the other day I emptied a couple of 5-gallon buckets and bottled some honey, and I took just the buckets out with the honey residue on the inside of the buckets, and I set them outside, and they stayed out there for like 30 hours, not more than 30 or 40 feet from my colonies. And there was one dead bee and then one bee flying around inside both of those buckets, which means we're on a flow, or they would be all over that honey residue if we weren't on a flow. So I'm encouraged by that they didn't touch that honey in those buckets for over a day before I finally just washed them out today.
There
he is.
He made the local news.
Is he teaching a course there?
That's the 4-H club.
Oh, okay.
What's that? What's it called? Sex of Smith. What is that? French or something?
The buzz about bees, and it's the Town and Country News from Grand Prairie Regional News.
That's cool.
And so he was in the article there. So he sent me that link today. And
well, as far as like hive lifters, I mean, are we looking at like Alex there is looking to palletize? If you're going to palletize, there's other ways of doing that. You could use a 4-wheel drive compact tractor, or you could use a skid steer loader. My son bought one of them, a case. They would easily, you can put forks on it, you can put anything on it. He bought a used for like $12,000. It's not that bad.
Yeah, easy loader is like the top of the wish list. It's not what I'm gonna go for at first.
What I'm looking at is like, okay, Ian has a truck, but it's got to be 4-wheel drive, and he still gets stuck. And it's like, yeah, it's designed for bees, and you can pick off the individual honey supers and things like that. But
the best bee truck I've seen is from Ollie's Farm in the UK. It's one of those small Japanese trucks he had gigantic wheels on it and an easy loaded on the flatbed. That thing looked like it could climb a mountain. It was
Hey.
crazy. I gotta
Talking about
contact
one of
him.
them little cab over Japanese things. That those little mini trucks or something.
Like Rob.
I'll try and get you a screenshot of that little truck. It's incredible.
Hey, James Noel put a comment on here. He says for him to sell at farmers market, everything has to be done inside his home. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. Different states, different rules. I don't know.
Where do you live, James?
Like, he's in Michigan.
Hey, Brian.
What's up, Brian? Glad you finally. I know the Beaconomics talk it was calling you from way down yonder.
I got my truck all packed up for tomorrow, so I'm good to go. Yeah, cool. Philip, my question for you: what was the label? Who was the seller of the whiskey honey? I couldn't read the company.
Lone Star something.
Lone Star Specialty Foods is what it says.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lady here in Colorado. She was actually the president of the state association for a while. She runs a pretty good honey selling company, and she does whiskey barrel honey. She just did a rum barrel honey. She collaborates with local distilleries. That takes a big barrel. That takes a lot of honey to put in a barrel, though. Lone Star, okay.
Yeah. This one has, it's basically their regular label that they really shrunk down to fit on this bottle. So you can't read the amount of ounces. There's some really small print right there, which I have no idea what it says. It's so tiny.
There's a lady in Texas. I think she's out of Austin. It's Two Hives Honey. Her name is Tara Chapman. There's a couple of YouTube videos about her and her marketing of honey. That's worth it.
To her a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, those are well worth the watch if you want to learn a little bit about marketing, for sure. You can tell sometimes when people have been in other industries, you could tell she was a marketer or has some sort of business background, because that's the mindset she goes into it with. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
$48 a pound, because it's $6 for 2 ounces.
Yeah. That's a pain in the ass, those little jars, though.
Yeah. Probably half the cost of that's the jar and the labeling. So James, it sounds like that the person that runs the farmers market in your area is a small time honey seller, and he just doesn't want she doesn't want any competition, because doing enough honey out of your home to make it a season in a farmer's market that's pretty tough.
Well, I mean, like here, it doesn't say I can't have a honey house, like a full honey house. What it does say is if I sell over 400 gallons, that I have to be inspected, and that my kitchen would not pass, right? So
right. Ours was 2,000 pounds, but I think they even changed that to the amount of income. It's like $100,000 or $50,000 income off of one product, I think, is the limit now.
Well, shit, Brian, and under those rules, you could do about like 5 million with all the products you carry.
Bob, I sent you the picture of the beat truck Richard Knoll showed.
Yeah, Richard Knoll has a neat beat truck.
No, that's not his. It's his friend Ollie in Ireland, I think.
Yeah. He went over and visited him.
That's the kind of beat truck I want. With those wheels, I won't get stuck easily.
That's a big old truck.
That ain't that big.
That's pretty good size.
Well, I mean, as far as lifting, if you had to lift that by hand, if your gate went down, that would suck. But because it's got that lifter on it, that's definitely
exactly
better. However, if you go to I mean, when are you looking to try to start going to pallets?
Not anytime soon. I have 30 hives. Well, I will have hopefully 30 hives this year. It's a long-term goal. There's no way I could afford that. The truck I ride. I use a 2002 Chevrolet Malibu that my brother sold me for pocket change. I can't afford that thing. I gotta grow my bee operations to get something like that. That's for sure. Well, it's kind of an end goal. Like once I'm established, I'm at 300 hives, and I can afford an easy loader and a truck and a bee house. That's like the dream truck, if you want.
Well, you start out with a pickup truck with a Tommy gate on the back of it. That way you can get
Or
yourself a hand truck, and you have your supers on the hand truck, and you bring it over to your Tommy gate, and you lift it up, and then you bring them right into your backyard pickup truck and put them there.
for me, I'm looking at using my pickup truck, but just getting like a pull behind trailer, right? That I can just put my stuff on and pull it.
Or there's also those tiny Japanese flatbed trucks. Like they're really small. They're car sized, but they have
they sell them down. They sell them. Are they sold in your country?
I think so. My dad's I think like sent me a link to one not too long ago, maybe last year. So there's a few in Canada. It's just that they're strange because the driver's seat is on the opposite side.
Well, I thought that's what you guys did. It was always on the left side.
Rob at Robbie's Bees did a video on his that he bought, but it has
But then he posted it for sale on Facebook.
Did he? To get them imported into the country, they have to be like 20 years old or older or something. You can't bring.
It's called Sow the Land home. What do you call it?
Yeah, I watched him.
Homesteader page guy. Anyway, he bought one, and there's a place down in Mayberry, down there where Andy lives.
Raleigh.
No, it's not that. It's
Mount Airy.
Mount Airy, North Carolina. And
Mayberry is really a place.
Well,
that's
named after Mount Airy, where he was from.
Oh, okay.
Actually, he got the name from Mayberry Post store, which is right outside of it's close to Medicine down in Virginia. I've been there. It's just a little place. And but anyway, there's Mayberry. I don't know. If you go to Sow the Land, he's got a link for that place. There's a guy down there in Ports. He's got about 200 of them you can pick from. And most of them are 4-wheel drive. And there's a couple different brands, I think, as far as Zuzu versus Toyota type of thing and all. And, they're not perfect. So
Brian, you all ready for the market tomorrow?
Yep. I've got my truck all packed up. It's a chore every time though, because you got to pull all your bee stuff out of the truck and then put all your market stuff into the truck, and then at the end of the day, you got to pull it all out again. So
that's where you have 2 trucks.
Your markets are on Sunday.
Yeah, 2 trucks.
Philip, there's
just
so
2 trucks,
many here.
Oh, okay.
Philip, there's so many here. There's Saturday, there's Sunday, there's some that are Friday night ones. Ours this is our first year where we committed to the entire season, and it's Sunday from 9 to 1. So it's not too long. We still get half of the day, and it's a good neighborhood. It's a lot of good traffic as well. So
and you get some time with the wife and get something to eat.
That's right. Hang out on a Sunday.
I was encouraged when I went to our market because online they would say they wanted you to commit for the whole season, but then when I walked up, they had a sign and they had vendors, and then they had vendors that would be the first and third weekends, and vendors that they had I guess there's 5 weekends in some months, and they want to be covered, so it was first, third, and fifth, or second and fourth.
Right.
So I'd want to be the second and fourth, I think.
And some will do just pop-ins too, so you can fill a gap in somewhere here and there. It depends on the market. But like here in Colorado, especially the ones that we're going for, you've got to apply in like January or February to get considered.
They appeared to have plenty of space on their big green lawn area, but I'll bet if you don't commit to a certain amount, they're probably not going to let you be in the same spot every week, and that's kind of important too if people are coming to find you.
See, even when you go to the market, though, right? So when you go to the market, and I haven't seen your setup. You probably have shown a picture, and I just don't remember it, Brian. But just from our conversations, I think that you've probably gone a little bit of extra, and maybe have a nice table cover and a nice maybe tent that goes up. That so there's expenses that you put out with everything, right?
Yep. So, I'll do a short tomorrow, Bob, and I'll post what our setup looks like. And actually, this market is really nice because your tent's a 10 by 10. And the other markets we've had, like, they butt you right up next to the person next to you. So you don't have like space to get out of your booth and walk around and interact with the customers. So we always set up our tables so there was a gap so we can walk through, so we could talk with the customers. But this one gives like a 2-foot space in between every booth spot. So we're going to try our tables differently so we don't have to make that gap. And like one thing we were thinking of, last week, which was our first week, is where does the sun go across the sky from 9 to 1? Because some of our stuff are going to melt throughout the day if it's hot, like our bombs in particular. They'll just start melting. So last week we were like, okay, where are we going to move stuff around? What can we put out in the front of the table that's going to get sun all the time and it's not going to matter? And then tomorrow I'm going to bring the observation hive, and I always put that in the back of the booth because that draws people in, right? It forces people to come and look at all your products too.
We're lucky over here that our farmers market has a roof. It's like it's supported on I-beams.
Yeah.
Pretty high, and it's fairly wide. It goes over the parking. That way, when even in the afternoon, you get shade.
That is super nice.
Ours has a building like that too, an open air building, but they also have a big green lawn where there's tents set up all around. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I liked being out in the open better than I did walking through that. The honey I bought was in that barn, so they're there every week. But I liked, and I think it seemed to be more people wanting to be walking around on the grass to those tents than were in that barn. It seemed like the ones that were out on the very edge, if you just walk in the barn a little bit, those were getting a lot of traffic, but not many people were walking all the way through that barn on a nice day. I'm sure if it's really hot or really, if it's raining a little bit or whatever, that's prime. But for a nice day like it was today, out in the open seemed to be better. I was surprised that most of the tents were like branded Academy Sports, and the tables were just white plastic fold-out tables, and they might have had a banner hanging off the front. Not many people were really going to much effort to do branding.
Which, if you do your branding, you'll stand out that much more out of all of them.
Especially for a market, especially if you're going to be at the same place over and over again, because they're going to want to see you. And then we have people who hit like special events that are like, oh, we saw you at the Lavender Festival or stuff like that. You need something identifiable so people can remember you, not just the honey guy.
Yeah, I saw Nathan set up when he did a market, and he spent like $3,000 on stuff, and he came up with some pretty nice stuff. He branded his tent and everything.
I saw Man Lake's honey straw filler for like $500. It's a bucket it's basically an IV.
Yeah, it's
bucket.
A piece of garbage. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm like,
when it comes to honey straws, you can go to Better Bee and you can buy 5,000 honey straws, and it's more cost efficient.
Here's going to be if I do honey straws, this is going to be my filler.
Just squish it
Charlie,
in.
we bought honey straws from Better Bee once, and they were awful. They just tasted terrible. You could tell the honey was burnt, so it doesn't crystallize.
Oh, you're saying there wasn't their it's their honey, not your honey in the straw?
No,
That
I
makes
tell
no
people
sense.
that too. People are sometimes people ask, "Is that your honey in the straws?" And I'm like, "No, it takes a special machine to get honey in the straws like that." But we get ours from a company called the Honey Jar out of Utah, and it's way better than Better Bee. I ended up giving the honey straws to kids in my class because I didn't want to sell them and have
You
people
did good today.
not like the
Here's
product.
your
That's
Surfy.
right. Yep. Here, who wants honey straws? Yay! They don't know.
I didn't know that. Because
Yep.
I've got a device that I tested. I hadn't put honey in it and tested it, but I put straws in it and sealed them. And it was a hair iron from the 1980s.
A crimp iron.
Yeah.
A flat iron.
I've got a little thing, and I put the straws in it, and it clamps down, and it sealed off the end of them, and I sealed off the other end. It held. I couldn't. So, and I've seen a video of a guy in England, and he actually used something that wasn't much too different than this to fill the straws, and he set them and he set them in a jar and let the air bubbles rise out of the top, and he sealed them off. It takes a long time, but it worked good.
That's pretty cheap. 500 honey sticks for $79. What's the 79.99?
I already don't want to promote plastics in my business, although I may have to yield if that's what sells. But the straws,
that is
to
the
me,
one. That's the one downfall.
Goes against that. Plus, if it's not going to be my honey in them, I'm not interested at all. Not even considering it.
So you don't use plastic honey bottles?
You might as well go down and you might as well sell the little packets that Chick-fil-A hands out.
You didn't see Philip's glass bottles, Charlie, at the beginning of the chat? He had those 2 different glass ones.
Yeah, I mean, one of them wasn't even his.
What are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about this one's not mine, but
yeah, he had the square one and then kind of the heart-shaped one.
But he has 2 different sizes of that.
That's the honey scap. This comes in a smaller one that I've bought some of too, and it comes in the larger one that I just showed you.
If you bought the plastic jars, you could have got a bigger extractor.
I've got to get my order in for these because and it doesn't take much, but you have to spend $300 to get free shipping. And if you try to pay for shipping on this, it's like $190 just for shipping. So I have to spend $300, which I can do that, no problem.
I thought about buying those honey straws, and I talked to Brian about it. If I do that display at that store, I feel like I need more items on my display than 2 different sizes of jars, right? So that was one of the reasons. Plus, if you sell them 2 for $1, I mean, you're making a little bit of money on them, not a lot, but a little bit. And it's just something extra to put on the display, The problem is if you start doing it, you got to keep doing it because they're going to, we sold, all the kids are buying these orange flavored honey straws or these fluorescent lime green ones, right? Different colors. So you got to kind of keep up with that. At least that's me. I mean, when I start something, I try to keep it going a little bit. James says 75 cents a piece where he's at, 2 for $1.50. Wow. See?
Well, he's hand filling his. I wonder what size they are. He says you can get biodegradable straws. So that sounds, it's just the time. The time is what I would always balk on to do all that. That just seems like that would suck so much time to do that.
If it gets people to try your honey, it might be worth it, but that's the whole purpose of it, in my opinion.
Well, I think for me, it would be more of a kid stopping to get one and mom being there saying, oh, well, we need some more honey at the house. And now they're buying a jar of your honey and 15 cents of somebody else's,
That's kind of funny you said that because when I first started talking about doing bees and selling honey, my daughter, she's 16 now. She was probably 13 then. She goes, are you going to do honey straws? And I was like, what's that? And she goes, she said, all the farmers markets have honey straws and I eat a lot of them. So I was like, okay, whatever. So yeah, the kids do think about those things.
But it's yeah, and it says you can get bulk and wholesale, so maybe that's
What site are you looking on, Bob?
the honey jar.
Yeah, you can get like 1,000 for 120, 130.
I
And we
can't
do.
believe we're promoting other people's honey straws in this channel.
Well, it's also flavored. They flavored it so it's more like a candy type of thing, right? Green apple, orange honey, peach honey. I'm sure watermelon. It's flavored. I don't know if it crystallizes or anything in there. Have you ever had any crystallization in there?
I haven't. I never have.
And ginger, raspberry. I mean, there's all different 2,000 packs. Whoa.
And so it's honeyjar.com.
Thehoneyjarhome.com is what mine says on it. But, you know, again, what's the difference? Okay, so I'm going to use this example. Charlie and I have been full disclosure on the channel that, okay, let's say I produce 500 pounds of honey, but my customers demand 550 pounds of honey. Where are you getting that other 50 pounds? Are you buying it from another beekeeper? How are you keeping your customers happy? Are you just saying, nope, I'm out for the next 6 months. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, that's a great question. And they actually passed a law in Texas to where you're allowed to take someone else's honey and mix it with yours and sell it as though it were yours. You can label it as yours, which to me is a way of getting around the rules, because if I've got 1 quart left and I go buy 2 5-gallon drums from somebody and pour my quart in there, I've mixed,
Right?
yeah, technically I'm within the law, which
No percentage stated, so long as
there's
you
no percentage. There's no
you
percentage.
could just put one drop.
Yeah, it just has to be mixed. Yours and theirs has to be mixed. It's probably a way to answer that question Bob just asked. But
Well, the caveat of doing that is you just don't go online and order honey, right? You're not going down to Webstront and buying a bucket of the honey over there. But if I went over to Mr. Sam's house, my mentor, and said, hey, do you have 5 gallons of honey? I'm going to pay you for it. Then I know it's still local honey, right?
Yeah.
It's still right up the road for me.
yeah, it's going to be the same thing. The thing that they did say in that when they revised the law, they said that, once you put your label on it, though, it is your honey. You're responsible for it. You're not going to be able to pass that along.
You're taking the liability.
Yeah, whoever you acquired it from, it becomes yours, just as though your bees made it.
But the
Hey, Mark, I get my square jars from Berlin Packaging, Berlin.
now, if I could find a cut comb producer that sells cut comb cheap enough to where I could buy it and resell it, that would be a market I'd be interested in, because at this point I don't have enough drawn comb myself to be cutting it out and and giving it, selling it at this point. So, and with the way the honey flow is, I'll be happy if they just draw a super out each. Let's see. And so if anybody knows that, shoot me an email and let me know, because I've looked at some places and they still want like $10 for a thing, even if you're buying it from like a restaurant
Later, James.
like that. So let me see. Berlin Packaging. Google is your friend. It'll pop right up. What's the other one? We were talking about bottles last night. Gamber Container, Berlin Packaging, but there's another one people have talked about getting bottles from.
So, Dennis, what are you talking about? You're talking about the place I get my jars from?
Let me see.
If you Google Berlin Packaging, they sell all kinds of stuff. Plastics, boxes. Just go to their Berlin Packaging and then put in honey jars, or in my case, probably square glass jars. You'll see it.
I got to go put my ducks away. I'll be right back.
I heard something quacking right there.
Get your ducks in a row.
Good one.
But
Look, now Charlie's got quiet. He doesn't have any popcorn. He's looking like he's about to wither up and blow away.
I'm looking at this here Berlin packaging.
Berlin is in the city in Germany.
Yep, spelled the same.
Spelled the same, but just they're in New York and maybe Tampa or somewhere. They got a outlet in the South too. They actually have an address in Dallas, but nothing comes from their Dallas location.
Sadly, probably not worth ordering to Canada.
Probably not a Canadian. I'll
But
tell you
if
what.
you're coming from New York, the shipping may not be that bad. Food jars, that's what you're getting, right?
Yeah.
See, on Gamber, it actually says honey jars. Boom.
Well, you can type in honey jars, and they've got honey bears. They do plastics and glass. You'll see this jar if you type in honey jars for sure, because this is a honey basket or skep or whatever.
And they got the hexagons.
Yeah. The hexagons, I ordered some of those, and I wasn't that crazy about them when I first started, just to see what they were like.
But see, it's just like Gamber, where it doesn't show you the price on it.
It gives you prices.
9
Sure.
ounce. Let me see, 9 ounce jar. Maybe that's it.
Click on it. It gives you prices. You get a little bit of a break if you order
If you buy 5 cases for those,
it's usually 6 or more cases. You get a price drop. That's usually where I try to hit.
then you get them for $1. At least the 9 ounce hexagons are $1.05 each when you buy 6 cases.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shipping. Oh, free shipping available for orders of $300 or more.
Yeah. When I first started ordering from them, it was $150, but they doubled that.
That's not a bad idea.
They sent me a package that obviously somebody who was quitting that day put together, and a lot of it, there's several broken jars in there.
Right.
So I called them and I emailed them a picture of the broken jars. They literally sent me out like single jars, paid the shipping and everything to replace those jars, within a few days.
Yeah.
It was really good customer service.
So to give you an idea, this is a basically 12 ounce jar, right? That's 16 ounces of honey.
Right.
And price per each, if you order 321, which is what I would have to order from thing, they're $1.21 a piece.
I knew you were going to go there because their plastics are not priced very well. Berlin is kind of a reseller I think they're kind of a reseller or a broker, but I noticed that as well because I started looking at some of their plastics, and it cost as much as the glass in most cases.
Let's see.
You may as well order glass in that case.
Yeah.
Jars, glass food jars, honey jars. Let's see.
Yeah,
This
but like
jar-
it's got a
think
12
this
ounce clear PET plastic, but there's no 1 pounders at. Where's the 1 pounders
That's
at?
the 12 ounce.
12 ounce holds a pound of honey. Wait, this
No,
jar.
it's 16 ounces.
Yeah, 16 ounces of honey, but it's 12 fluid ounces.
Yeah, it's food weight. And it actually would hold probably more. It's almost 1.5 times.
So you got the glass honey pot jars with lug cap.
Yeah, and that's like $1.11, 12 or something.
How many ounces is that one? The 10 ounce one?
This one is the 10 ounce one. You can get 15 ounces in it. If you fill it up
you order
like
6 cases are 95 cents a piece with the lid. Do you have any problems with the lid leaking? Because I bought some little like yogurt jars off of Amazon, and the lids just didn't want to do right.
I've had no issues at all. I've never had any issues, and it doesn't seem like they did. You barely. It's like less than a quarter turn before they lock down.
And if you Yeah, and if you over twist it, it goes past it. And
If you over twist it, it goes past it. You need to get a different lid, or you have to kind of squeeze that lid back into shape, because you're right. You can't overdo it. Once you overdo it, I always change it out, because it's not worth it to worry about it leaking.
$13.37 a case of 12. Unless that's at 1 through 5 cases. After that, it goes down, right?
No. And I actually, and I'm thinking about changing this one to 50 cents, but I offer $1 refund on the next honey purchase if they return this jar. I actually offer $1 on this one too, but based on what I was seeing, the price you're quoting, 95 cents, it seemed like I thought it was over $1, but.
Well, it says 310 mLs. Holds 15 ounces of honey, so
yeah,
that's just under a pound. So you could probably still sell it for $10 here, right?
Yeah.
And
but the thing is, I when I refill these, I always buy a new lid. I don't reuse the lids, so that costs you like 30 cents or whatever to do that. So it's like, if I actually give somebody $1 back for this, I'm going to be losing money,
right?
But I just like to encourage people to, there's
Recycle.
a reason to come back to me and to recycle the glass and all that. It kind of just establishes a relationship, because I have several customers that they always return their jars to me when they buy more honey.
I haven't been able to find the jars. I noticed Lawrence with Black Mountain Honey, when he does his gold lids like that have a honeycomb hex pattern on top of them. But yeah, those are nice jars, man. Honey pot jars. Very nice. And they've got all different shapes. I wonder how much they get for just a general purpose glass jar, like a mason jar. Oh, 1 gallon, 1 ounce, 4 ounce, 8 ounce.
Which
12 ounce.
There's a company, I guess, is it out of Louisiana that Joey gets his stuff from? They seem to have very good prices on stuff.
That might be the other company I was thinking about there.
Was it Gamber?
No, he gets them from somewhere else. I can't remember. So if you buy 10, that's not bad. So if you buy 10 cases of their wide mouth general purpose glass jars, they're 83 cents a piece for like the pint sized mason jar. Mm-hmm. That's cheaper than you can buy them at Walmart.
Did you see that at Berlin?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's different, because I checked that, and they were more than Walmart back, but that was like a year ago. So,
if you get 1 through 9 cases, they're $1.05 a piece. But if you buy 10 or more, they're 83 cents.
Okay.
So if you buy 10, well, I mean, shit, you'd have to buy 30 cases at that price to get the free shipping on them, right?
Right.
So, but I mean, you're talking about $300 worth of jars, 360 pints. That's what's 360 times 1.5 pounds.
If you're using it, you're gonna go through that. As long as I get my order together and get everything I need in one shot, $300 per year is nothing. But if you run a little bit short on something and you don't need to order that much, then it becomes an issue.
Right. And then it's always storage, right? It comes back to the storage.
I was thinking about that.
If you got a bunch of honey and you're putting it in 5-gallon pails, then you got 35-gallon pails sitting there. That's a storage issue. If you got to bottle it all and you got to buy 30 cases, then, you've made, you got 30 cases sitting there. Well, then is it going to crystallize in the jar? Well, no, then you got to have more storage issue if you're not going to leave it.
Yep. What are you talking about?
That's what my kitchen looks like too. Mine looks worse than I got everything in my kitchen.
This is my dining area. My wife's not real happy with me right now.
I went to Walmart today and I looked to see if they had any of those Golden Harvest jars, and they didn't. All they had was the ball jars. And it's still, it still ends up being 90 something cents a jar or something like that. But it is I wonder what happens if you buy a pallet. Well, it won't let you buy a pallet. But yeah, let's see, if I buy 10 cases, that's $100.10 for 10 cases. So 300 would be $300.30. Oh, not 300 cases. Sorry, 30 cases. $300.30. That'd be just enough to get free shipping, right? 30 cents extra. So that extra 30 cents is going to cost them the shipping.
Hey, Bob,
guys,
I put a link. Go ahead, Philip.
I'm sorry. I'm reading the chats over here, and Keith at Larimore talking about his eyes and giving us an update on that. So we need to hold the thoughts and prayers out for him to get some relief from that, because I know he's been struggling with that.
His eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
2-ounce hex jars and 3-ounce half. Those are the real small ones, right? The 3-ounce. Yeah.
Bob, I put a link in the chat. Are those the lids you're talking about?
Yeah, they got that hex pattern on them. Yep. I'm looking at them right now. 31 cents a piece.
That's not a terrible price. That's good.
For just
$3
the lids?
Yeah, that's the metal hex lids.
That's a lot of money.
Is that a lug? Is that what they call a lug? It's got the little.
Yeah, it's got the little lugs underneath them.
Yeah.
Good
That adds
looking.
a little bit.
See, you had to take me
James.
back to Betterby to see this licensed equipment sitting here.
I know it. I knew I saw him somewhere.
And I've been looking at this. I've been talking about sumps, right? So we look at this, and I've been looking at this thing, but it's always an issue, right? I'd be doing the Charlie thing. So if I get this right here, all right, so the top comes off of your, let's say I'd run a hose from my uncapping and the uncapping tank as well as the extractor. And then it goes into the sump. But then the problem is the sump's sitting on the ground, right? So then does it become, I have to get one of those jacks that Charlie's got so you can jack it up to get a bucket underneath it to empty it out into a 5-gallon bucket. So it's like another whole thing. Yes, it's the shopping network tonight, the Honey Shopping Network. Don't get me started. I will start a show.
So that pulls you gotta siphon the honey off the top valve with that. Is that what?
So it's a baffle system, right? So the honey would come in this top through the strainer,
Okay.
and go through the baffles, and then it would come. You would let it out on the bottom. But unless you have your extractors and stuff way high off the ground, well, you would have to lift this back up, or you would have to pump the honey into it. So that's kind of the.
It just stops the wax from. Okay, I see. It's got a little a little vertical filter in it.
Yeah, that's the little clarifier there.
Okay.
Let me see. And Mark, Alex just bumped out? Let me see. Mark said, y'all got me thinking about the whiskey barrel and honey, and so would I need a heater blanket to go around the barrel? Well, that's the thing. A wood barrel, you would have to probably have an immersion heater in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it would be too insulative to.
I don't think the lady that I was talking about did use any sort of heat. And I don't, your other question was about time, Mark. I don't remember the answer to that. I think it was a couple. Yeah, I
should've
think it was a
asked
couple of
about
months at the very least.
Before I become direct competition to them, I need to get all that information from them.
So this is saying the sieve size on that clarifier are 3 millimeter holes and 1 millimeter holes. That's what size they need to, well, at least I don't know if that's what they need to be. I know that's what they are on that particular piece of equipment.
Hey,
So,
Bob, I noticed on your chat the other night, you said you bought those paint filters and they were 200
200
micron. Isn't that a little too small?
Well, I'm only using it to strain the wax cappings afterwards. So,
I'm saying, wouldn't you want like the smaller the number, the more it filters out, right?
Yes, I'll be right back.
It seems like you'd be trapping a lot of the pollens and stuff with that.
Well, the way he's uncapping, he's creating those real fine uncapping particles of wax, and that's his problem. Where
That makes a mess when he wants to filter.
Right.
Yeah, sorry about leaving like that. I wanted to send an email and I clicked on the same window
So
as the chat room.
this is my ghetto rigged honey thing. So I had cappings from where I extracted the other day,
right,
that were plugging up my strainer.
Yeah.
So I just poured them in through here, and you see the honey.
It's exactly what I'm planning to do with the 5-gallon buckets this year on my cappings.
And then the honey is just
But I'm gonna cap right into the bag.
down in the bottom there. It's not a lot of honey in
been
this,
there, done that.
but it's,
The only thing of it is that bag gets heavy, and then it wants to. If you don't have no way of holding it on the outside, it'll go right down.
yeah, I've
into
got
the
it tied to the handle right now.
I know it's gonna fall to the bottom until I pick it up and.
But then you got it. You got it. That bag is in your reclaimed honey.
Right.
So
You
right
got all
now,
that mess.
I probably got at least a bottle of honey sitting down in the bottom, so just out of these cappings out of that bowl, an extra bottle. So that's $10 worth of honey out of this little ball that I had sitting here. And it's not even, I've only had it here for a little while.
When you get your wax spinner, your $30,000 wax spinner, then you'll get all that honey out.
Shut your mouth right now.
Like the one that Ian has, it just shaves.
Yeah.
So like completely shaves
That's a
shave,
Cook's and
separate the
Beal.
honey.
Yeah.
That's only
comes out just
it's only
powdery
50,000.
He's gonna have me ordering stuff. But yeah, this has only been on here for a few hours today. I haven't just started this, so it's
I'm gonna order a couple of extra strainers, but I think I'm getting the 600 on the bottom.
My mesh thing that goes in the like the plastic one that goes on the 5-gallon pail, I think is 400 microns.
Yeah.
So this is bigger than that one.
No, it's smaller. It's smaller if it's 200.
Well, this one I can actually see through. The other one I can't really see through that much. So I don't know. Maybe this one must have larger holes than the other one does. But yeah, I bought a 50-pack off of Amazon of those things. Let me take this back in the kitchen where all my other stuff is.
I've never really done the bags like that, but like with Bob's setup, I'd want to make sure I have a lid over that just to make sure dust and other stuff doesn't get into it, because I mean it's all gravity run and you're just hanging it there.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are 5-gallon elastic top, 200 microns.
Yeah, that's pretty tight.
But if I'm only putting my wax cappings in here, like if I'm spooning them off and throwing them in here,
you're not. Yeah.
then it's not a big thing. But
no.
this is what Gus Mitchell uses when he pumps it out of his sump
Yeah.
Before it goes into his holding tank, he's pumping it through one of these one last time to like a final strain.
It probably delays crystallization a lot longer than the 600.
Yeah, there's less nucleation sites, less particle to start crystallizing.
So I don't know. We'll see. As long as it's not holding me up from, one of the things is those strainers, they're only like this deep, right? So when you start pouring honey in them and they got a bunch of wax in them, then you're closing the gate, waiting. That, I guess that would be the main. If you wanted to sell me, that is the selling point. Just, Bob, all you got to do is put this clarifier down in there, slap your gate open, let it all run in there, and then pump it out of the other side clean and fresh. Done. Take my money.
My plan is to use 3 of those strainers, and once those get clogged up and I can't easily scoop some wax out and make them go, I'm just going to extract straight into the 5-gallon barrel. And because when I went online to research that, so many people said they gave up on all the strainers. They extract into a 5-gallon bucket, they let the wax rise to the top, and then they scrape it off, and then they strain it after the fact.
And if you want to make it even better, you could take Brian's old crush and strain method press, and you could take that bag and tie a knot in it and put that in that press and just tighten it up, and it would push all that honey out of there pretty quick.
It really does make sense that you keep the process going. It's like Mr. Ed does. He just extracts into those big barrels and lets the wax rise to the top, scoops it off, and then he runs it through
a strainer. Yeah, it seems like I haven't done that when I thought about it.
See, my thing is he's got the luxury of having multiple people to help him do things.
Yeah, he's in an abbey with a lot of monks helping him.
But that's also the reason he went to that method, because he didn't want people standing around waiting for his honey to strain.
Right.
So he just abandoned that as just out of necessity. But it actually, to me, especially for him, makes sense. First, he's got the real nice honey pump that he can move his honey around a lot easier than most people. He doesn't picking thing up.
Let me see.
And Bob, if you watch Gus Mitchell's hot honey video, he uses those paint strainer bags to hold the peppers inside, and then the 5-gallon bucket goes into his honey warmer.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to watch that one.
I'll be glad when Gus gets back to making videos. He's a get the work done first kind of guy.
Yeah, me too. I've learned a lot from his videos.
And so, I think since I'm trying to build this in stages, once I kind of have the idea of what I want to get in the order, obviously extractor first, right? Then you're like, oh, well, I got to have somewhere like you did I can only hold so many frames before I can put them in there. So then it was the uncapping tank. And then it was, well, now I've got all this honey. What am I going to do with all the, oh, well, I need a bottling tank so I can warm it up so it'll flow better to bottle. And, then I got all that stuff, and it was like, well, now I'm having a problem with the straining. So let's try this other uncapper, see if that works better. And, who knows? If it does, then maybe next year, maybe if I sell these nukes, you might say, damn, Bob just bought a new clarifier with the. And the thing I like about the Lysin clarifier, not that one I just showed you, but it's a heated clarifier as well. So it's warming the honey to help it flow through everything. So that was, that's something.
It's not sexy, but my next purchase is going to be those no drip handles that
I see Hilco came out.
They're like $20 a piece. They're not expensive at all.
Which ones?
It's a no drip. It's like the honey gates, but it's got a knob you pull down, but it's a no drip. It doesn't.
I got one. I'll send the shit to you.
The thing that I saw when Jerome Bee Farm showed
piece of junk.
You couldn't really see the honey. Once you pulled it down in front of you, it blocked your vision of where it was coming out.
Well, the other thing was I bought that because I was going to try to replace the honey gate that was on my 5-gallon bucket, right? The regular honey gate. And what they don't tell you is that oh, well, it's a bigger size hole than what's already on.
Oh,
the
you
bucket.
can't. Yeah, you can't.
You
You
have
can't
to drill it out or make it bigger or use a different bucket. That's always an option.
Yeah, you'd have to use a different bucket because you wouldn't be able to get it centered.
The
So I
only
got
no
one
drip
that I've never
is
used.
the Max Amp gate. It's a one drip more than a no drip.
Yep. And those things are $200 and something now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Takes the peroxide off the top. I don't know.
The bubbles that come to the top are peroxide.
Yes, bees use peroxide as basically a sterilizing agent.
I've never pulled anything off the top like that with cling wrap or anything. However it is in my bottling tank, that's what they get. So maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know.
Well, then I showed up Mr. Ed doing that, and to me, he heated his honey too hot.
You only get it in the 1 or 2 jars when you get right down to the
end,
to the opening. Then it goes all into 1 or 2 jars.
Which Charlie said, well, there's a trick to that. Just don't get down. Leave a little bit of honey in there and then fill it back up again.
I tell people all the time that, you can expect a little bit of that. And I also tell them, if you can see through a jar of honey, you don't have good honey.
Hey.
You can't see. Yep, you kind of can see through yours.
You can see the label all the way through mine.
Yeah.
Basswood honey is almost clear. You can very easily see through it.
I just put Johnson's baby shampoo in my jar and put a little honey extract in there to make it taste like honey a little bit. Soap and honey. But
if you filter it and all that, you shouldn't have any of that stuff in there. And mine is only a 400 micron filter. That's that stainless steel bucket filter.
Yeah, I use that too.
A 600 coarse and a 400 fine. That's as far as I go.
See what that says?
Raw what?
Unfiltered.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember now, you got the terminology here.
Mine's strained.
It's filtered and strained.
Mine is
using not filters, but strainers.
Yeah, I call mine screened or strained.
A filter is like the ones like Ian has. I think what he has, or you'll see.
No, Bob Vinny uses filters.
Right. He's got that canister.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double canister, and there's like a sock. It's like those bags you were showing in that one picture. There's a bag in there, and that is filtered.
He has to do that because he sells to Walmart and Kroger and stuff. You can't have.
I think he does it more to keep his pumps from getting jammed up with wax particles. Because I was watching that video today where he was talking about some of those pumps out there were $6,000 a piece. So you get them jammed up with some wax and break something, you're screwed. And he says you'll get. He says his extractor, he's got nails in his extractor and bits of wood and stuff from frames. And let me see.
But a filter, what you're doing is you're filtering the pollen particles out of it. And the grocery store says, hey, we don't want your stuff to crystallize on the shelf.
Right.
We want a minimum of 6-month shelf life. And that's why they're filtering it.
Yeah. Oh, there's Joey. Stop talking about him.
We've been talking about you, Joey. You must have heard your ears ringing.
Yeah, Joey, come on in. We need to talk about that hive lifter.
Oh, you in that damn hive lifter.
Did he get Joey? That was the Joey you were talking about? I didn't know that was the Joey.
Hey, Joey, don't talk about the hive lifter, man. He ain't buying one. I've been listening for a year.
Yeah, but he's got a different one. He's got the other model.
He'll wait till another COVID hits and shipping's all jacked up and he can't get one. He'd be like, well, I would have ordered that last year, but COVID threw the whole shipping thing off and now I can't buy my hive lifter.
I saw Joey had a new video out, but I hadn't seen it yet.
It's all about his hive lifter.
Is it?
Finally someone did a hive lifter video for you.
I want to see him do it like in 6 months or whatever when he does his fall hunting, if he does it.
Well, I'm lucky. Both hive lifters I want are made here in Canada. The Easy Loader and the smaller one on wheels.
How much are those things?
Easy Loaders?
Oh, here comes
42 grand
James.
Canadian.
James has got to defend his honor with the hive lifter video.
Easy Loader.
What's the guy up there, Alex? What's the guy?
Easy Loader is Australia, isn't it?
Yes,
No.
but the 2 stores in Canada have a license to produce them.
No, they don't produce them in Canada. They import them. They distribute them for them.
Really? I thought they had the right to produce them. When I
No.
spoke to the lady at the store, she told me she had the.
There's 2 of them. One just outside of Winnipeg and one just outside of Toronto.
So Man Lake sells
No,
one
I'm
that's
talking about a
630
store
bucks.
south of Montreal called Propolis, etc.
So they're all manufactured in Australia and then they're shipped up to Canada.
All right.
Evening,
But
everyone.
you have a dealer there then.
Hey, James.
It's a distributor. Yeah.
And you got Boris is the other one that makes the one that James has.
Yep.
And then there's
I was
one
using
made in the
it today.
United States.
It was super handy today, let me tell you.
Is that also the one Joey's got? Is what he put it Boris in?
He
his-
got the Boris. I think he's got a Boris one, but it's the other model.
Yeah, he's got I have the the B3. I think he's got the B1.
Did you see the image of the starter finisher I sent you, James?
I haven't had a chance yet. I literally have been out at the apiary since about 9 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
So it's 9:30 now. I got back about an hour ago. Just did a bit of watering of the lawn and had a quick bite to eat and then sat down. So I haven't even had a chance to take a look at any of my emails or anything yet. But yeah, hopefully you made it nice and strong.
Well, they were dribbling in the front when I was done. So it should be strong enough. And it's loaded with emerging brood. So there's
Perfect.
going to be even more.
That's exactly what you want. In fact, I just pulled my what was it? My 4th round out of my starter finisher. So
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
have the
no.
nukes for that.
well, I'm doing what did we do? I think we're doing 12, 24, so we're doing 48 cells around. So,
I'm going to try and go 30 because I can accommodate I have 27 nukes,
right on.
I think. So that's the max. I need about 16, 17. There's a queen I need to replace. I need to replace my winter losses.
Have you grafted before, Alex?
Once, yes, last year.
Okay, perfect. So just make sure when you're doing it, keep the larva moist.
Moist.
Use a warm, damp cloth to cover them all up. And I think most people make the mistake they pick larva that is too big. So
I went for the smallest I could find on every frame.
exactly. That's
What I think was my big mistake last year when I tried to graft is I didn't have the resources to make a strong starter finisher.
right on.
So
That's what
when
you
that
need a
failed, I had 2 cells that were beautiful, but only 2. That's when I decided to make a flyback split from Gus Mitchell, the technique Gus Mitchell uses.
Yep.
And that went off beautifully. I had over 30 cells. I couldn't save them all because I had to cut them out of the cone.
Yep.
But out of 17, I got 13, something like that. 17,
Excellent.
18. So
If that works for you, by all means, absolutely.
I
think
wanted
I'm-
to learn how to graft. That's why. That's why.
Try it. You just got to get in and try it. And like I said, don't be discouraged if you don't succeed the first time, or even if you don't succeed the second time. Each time, learn something new from it, and then keep moving on. So,
Yep. As in for keeping the larvae moist, last year I had a wet towel in the jester box, and one I kept over the frames I was grafting off of.
there you go. Well, so far I'm sitting at what? We figured it out the other day, Bob. What am I sitting at? Like 90 or 92%?
Yeah, you're doing really good with it.
So this next round, Alan actually grafted in there. So we'll see how we.
99% beginner's luck. 99%.
I don't think
I'd
so.
say he's more than a beginner.
Maybe beginner grafter. I don't know.
Because I had 2 out of 30 take on my first try.
Well, my next round, I figured it out. My next round, I need. I'm going to graft heavy in there. So I'm probably going to put 12. So right now I'm putting 12 per bar. I'll probably bump that up to 14 or 16 a bar. So I need 80 queens in the next 3 weeks.
That'll put you at 200.
Nope. So I got sales for some queens. I actually sold a couple of queens here on Friday. And the guy came right out to the apiary. So we pulled him out of the mating nukes. And he was astounded at how good those queens looked. They were nice long abdomens, everything like that. And he is one of the commercial guys up here. And
Alex said he can't sell his queens in Canada.
Why?
I need to get one inspection through. From the guy from the Minister of Agriculture told me once I get approval, it's done. It's a one-time deal. I just didn't think of like I need to sell queens.
Got her. Well, this guy will take every possible queen that I can make. And he's willing to pay premium price. He figured they were some of the best queens he saw. So that made me feel good. And I was out there cleaning getting the apiary all lined up. So the inspectors will be here on Thursday. Actually, the Alberta apiculturist is bringing her whole team. So they're going to take a deep dive into my hives to see where we're at. So earlier, the test earlier this year came back the same as it has the last 2 years, with zeros clear across the board. So they want to see what's going on in my apiary.
You can't say none.
I've had pretty low Varroa scores too, like between 0 and 2 for the last 2 years.
I did 76 mite shakes shortly after I came out of the barn, and I found 1 mite.
Good.
That was it.
1.5.
What I did every time is once the APVAR treatment ends, immediately I follow up with OAV. Since we technically can't have 2 treatments at once, so as soon as one ends, I start another.
Well,
but just 1 or 2 blasts.
Oh yeah, I've had my APVAR strips out now for, I'm going to say, about a week and a half, and I don't know where the girls are finding it, but holy smokes, they are packing the honey in there already, and we've got nothing. I mean, it's dandelions out there. The 4-H group, they were in their hive today, and they've pretty much got, I'm going to say, 6 or 7 frames of capped honey in each box.
So you better start now, because with 13 frames at a time, it'll be this time next year before you can start on the actual honey from the flow.
12 frames. You're giving me an extra bonus frame.
Oh, well, you know. Gosh.
So, yeah, no, they're packing it in. I mean, I went through, I think I've got what? I think I got through 84 hives today. And I went through every one of them. I went right down, getting everything all equalized. I went in, I remarked some of the queens there from last year that had the Posca pen. I hate those things, by the way. So used my competitive advantage pen, got all those remarked so they're easy to see. and dropped in another 40, I guess it'd be 42 nukes. I split out 42 more nukes, dropped in 42 more queen cells. They'll hatch out either this afternoon, this evening, or tomorrow. And I've probably got, I'm going to say 100, 150 frames of capped honey out there already. I don't know where they're finding it. I really don't.
Hold on, wait a minute. 150 frames. We'll do some math here. 150 frames times 15 minutes a cycle is 2,250 minutes divided by 12 frames. It's 187 minutes divided by 60 minutes. That's not bad. That's only 3 hours of spin time.
So that's bugger all. Easy peasy.
Considering with no flow.
With no flow.
See, that's what next 4-H meeting should be. We're going to go into honey extraction mode. Now, you girls over here, you're the uncapping section, and you fellows over here are the deboxers, and you, sir, you're the extractor operator. And then they just rotate positions, and you get all your honey extracted out with the help of your 4-H club, and it's a learning lesson for them.
There you go. Well, I sent. Did I send you? I think I sent Bob. I think I sent Bob and Charlie actually the local newspaper up here, the local town and country newspaper.
Yeah, Bob showed it to us.
So it.
How did you send it?
I think I sent it to your
Email?
text. No, your text. I think. But it's 3 pages long. The article in there.
I think you sent it to Bob. You didn't send it to me.
No, I sent it to both of you actually.
To your phone.
Text messaging, right?
Yep.
All right, so Tom that's usually on here, he's extracting some honey today.
Oh yes.
And I got a question. See if you guys see this. His honey's coming out a lot like mine does, but with the chunks of wax, right? But hold on, let me see if I can make this big. There, I'll click on it. Oh, it's fun. So he's using the Helco extractor.
I'm going to start pouring it out.
And then he opens the gate up, and you see how it's brown normal right there with the wax?
Looks good.
But then watch how lighting.
Look at
Is that just air whipped in there?
That could be crystallized honey.
A little bit clearer. Have a great day. I'll be spinning
Flowing out
all
like
out.
that?
That looks like crystallized honey to me.
He's spinning the honey. The second 8
That,
frames.
I mean,
and
I
I'm gonna
saw
start
mine
pouring
came
it
out normal, but
Here
mine
it
doesn't come
comes.
out white like that. That's why I was wondering if it was just
Oh,
like
it
a
looks
different
good.
honey, maybe a
Looks
different
good.
floral, or if it was just.
Look at that. Woohoo!
No, that looks like
No.
crystal. That looks
Yeah.
like
Get
crystallized
a little
honey
bit
to me.
clearer.
Crystallized honey will clog up
Have a
that,
great day. I'll be spinning
that
all night.
strainer too. I had that problem last fall.
I have a
It'll clog it
Hilco.
up.
I have a Hilco, and it did that to
Faster.
my honey once or twice too. But it was because there's not much space between the basket and the inside wall of those Hilcos. So it was actually hitting the honey as it was spinning, and I think it was adding air into it. That's what I had happen with mine. So I had to make sure I was extracting it when it was really warm out, or I would have to pause it so it wasn't getting built up on the inside. But the gap between the basket and the inside of the steel is really small in those.
So
at least
it was
my
flying
Hilco.
out, but getting hit by the frames as they're flying by.
It was whipping the honey.
The basket. Yep. That's what happened to me.
Mm.
Get it now,
I got
Charlie?
it, James. Yep.
So the town of Sexsmith actually has contacted me now, and I helped the city of Grand Prairie rewrite their bylaws for the beekeepers, and now it looks like I'm going to be helping the town of Sexsmith. So
Is that what that is a town name?
that's a town name, Sexsmith. Yes.
Sexsmith?
Yeah.
What do they got to write? What do they need laws about the bees for? I don't get it.
Oh, because they're keeping them right inside the city. So right inside the city limits or town limits. So basically just, right in your backyard. Part of it is they just don't understand it. So, I mean, I have them here in my backyard, and what the city does is the city will go to any of the next door neighbors just to make sure none of them are deathly ill of a bee sting or something like that, right?
Or they, yeah,
And
but the problem of it is they got beeophobia.
oh no, they have to provide medical proof. If they
Oh.
say no, I'm allergic, then they got to provide medical proof because of the beeophobia.
Well, that's interesting. Like Brian was saying about Hilco's Chinese extractors, that because the basket's too close to the wall.
And Brad over here is saying it's wax froth from keeping your gate closed.
Well, he's talking about where the honey would come up towards the bottom of the basket.
Yeah, and I was saying it's hitting the sides.
It'd be the same. It's the same process.
Same idea.
Whipping it.
Yep.
Well, I mean, why he had his gate open? I'll keep mine closed up for the first spin, and after that, that honey kind of builds up a little bit on the congenital thing, and then you just open it up and let it roll.
Are you coming in, Brad?
He came in Tuesday night.
Yeah, speaking of cities and bees, when I first started, there's a community garden at the end of my street. It's like a 2-minute walk from where I am, and my first step in trying to get a bee yard was trying to set up some hives over there. I just wanted 1 or 2 at first, and it took a while, but eventually I got once I reached the manager of the garden, I was told you can't have bees in the city. It has to be agricultural land. Now it may have changed. That was in 2018, but yeah, it can be a hassle to get bees while you're in a city. So I'm glad we contributed to that kind of change, at least somewhere.
The mall here in Grand Prairie is looking to put bees on top of there as well. So,
oh, that's a wonderful place. It's a large area.
But there's not much for nectar around there.
Well, you'd be surprised. Cities usually decorate their streets with flowers. I don't know if it's the case.
Right around the mall. I mean, there's some residential, but not for a few blocks.
So you say you were using your hive lifter. What were you doing? Just honey supers or what, James?
No, actually, with the split. So I'd put my 3-way pallet, stuff like that, on my hive lifter, bring it right over to the hive that I was making the split on, and have it sit right there. So as I could pull it out, I was dropping it right into the 3-way pallet, and then placing the 3-way pallet right where I wanted it. So that thing's great. Some people said they've had problems with the switch. I haven't had a lick of trouble with any of it. Like I say, the only thing that still bugs me, and I just got to dig my welder out and fix it, is the forks. So just the way it's set up, the pallet and everything comes right back and touches the tires. So until you lift it up past the tires, it rubs on the tires. That's the only thing I don't like. All I got to do is I just got to space it out literally, 3/4 of an inch.
So do you have any updates as far as your line? What you're going to do?
Hold on, before it gets off the lifter, I was just watching the video. You have to have a little bit of space between your colonies when you've got them side by side, right? To get the.
No, they touch each other.
How do you get the?
He's got 2-way pallets.
So I have 2-way pallets, so I can pick up the boxes from the end of the pallets.
Oh, you
So
got
He's
them. You pick them up on the long end.
You got her. Yeah.
Okay.
Same way
I was just watching the video, and he was he actually had space between he was picking them up on the short end.
Yeah.
He had space, but he also, you have to break them loose to just pull honey supers anyway, because it'll pick the whole stack up. But he was breaking them loose and sliding them over a little bit just so he could get his forks in there.
Yeah.
Who was that? Who was that?
Yeah.
No.
That
It's a video I was watching.
Yeah, that'd be the video Boris made.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
He's
Boris,
a smart man.
Boris
he-
Freilander.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is a smart man, but he's a different man, but he's a smart man.
That's
He had
me.
that.
I'm different but smart sometimes.
Yeah, we'll go with
I
that.
like that you clarified the like with sometimes.
Hey,
Sometimes.
Bob.
Yes, sir.
Bob, everybody likes a little ass. Nobody likes a smart ass.
That's true. This is true. It's a true story.
So you are smart.
Ah, at least that's what my
That's right.
my hoodie would imply. But so honey issues. Your extraction is your bottleneck.
Maybe.
What's your thoughts, sir?
My thoughts on me?
Yeah, what's your plans? How are you
Well-
going to overcome this?
Hey, Brad.
Evening, Brad.
Do I need to put my stuff into a trailer and pull it up to Grand Prairie?
I keep telling you, come on up. So,
And I would never come home.
well, that's all right.
I'd be
That's
like,
fair,
hey, we
Beverly.
need to put we need to go ahead and move a camper out on the apiary there.
Well, I got one of them too.
Camper in the apiary. That's crazy talk.
Wait, don't you have one too, Brad?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that
Speaking of
32-foot
that,
camper in my apiary.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, you got to have a place if you got to use the restroom. Well, I mean, out here, I just go out back. It doesn't matter. But, you know,
Gotta have a
Yeah,
place
but that's
to
his
call
that's
home
his
when you're out there.
grafting. That's his grafting camper.
his grafting
do everything in
camper.
there.
He could have his coffee out there or his.
Yeah. Naps are
I
big.
got no power out there, so it's actually the camper is kind of decommissioned. There's not much going on in there, but it's just a shell.
Well, I think I had my first swarm today, guys.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. I obviously wasn't watching them close enough, but I literally, as I'm going through and I'm doing, kind of equalizing things out and checking for swarm cells and everything. I'm looking off to the distance there, and here comes a big thunder cloud, right, rolling in, and I'm thinking, man, that's starting to get noisy around here. And I look literally 2 pallets over that I hadn't got to yet, and the whole front of it's covered with bees, and I'm like, oh no. And they're just doing this around the top, and I'm thinking, great. So I looked to see if I could find the queen, and I grabbed a couple frames and I sweeped all the bees off the front into the frame, and I put it in a nuke box. And everybody settled down, and
quality swarm lure.
it was sitting here right beside my chair.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't work anyway.
But so anyways, I sweeped them all off, put them in a nuke box.
You're killing me over here.
Sorry, man.
Put them in a nuke box, and I thought, okay, they all came right to the nuke box. So I thought, oh, perfect, I got the queen, everything in there. So I put screens in the entranceway, so there was, they blocked them in there. I thought, we'll deal with that for later on, right? Thunderstorm came through, and it's just pouring rain. And 30 minutes later, it's nothing left. And then by the time I get back out there, it's like, okay, well, maybe I should give these guys some more frames in there because they only had a couple, right? I take the lid off. There's not a single bee in there. I don't know where they went, but there wasn't a single bee in there, and I don't know how they got out. So I'm going to call those, if I ever find them, those are going to be my Houdini bees.
Found a cluster on the ground today. I walked out to get in the Bronco. I'm like, man, why is this pile of dead bees sitting over here on the ground next to the car? Well, they weren't dead. They were just wet and cold and in torpor. So I got my toolbox over there, the Pro Nuke, with some frames in it, and took the lid and scooped
Your
them
problem
in.
solver.
Put them right in and closed them up. And hopefully they thaw out and warm up and dry off and they're good to go.
Hey, Bob.
Right on.
Bob, put Joey Rawls' chat up real quick on the screen. Got a kick out of that.
I had a fellow text me and said he has kept bees for 20 years and never had a swarm. I stopped reading after that statement.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Either he's a liar or he just doesn't pay attention.
Hey, he might be like me with the ones down in the country. They can swarm whenever they want. I only see them every 2 weeks. But yeah, I had the one swarm here in my backyard, and I put it in a box, and I noticed there's a lot of bees in there, so I treat them as single deep brood management. And I've already got a box of honey, and they're working on the second. So yeah, chase those swarms. They can make honey for you. They drew out most of the comb, and well, I did give them drawn comb for the honey, but yeah, they'll make honey for you if you can catch them. If you can keep them in the box, James.
Well, I had no swarms in
didn't
the
think
past
I'd-
2 years, but that's because I had 5 hives 2 years ago and 15 last year. So it's kind of easier to keep them in the box.
I don't know. It's
I didn't
hard
think
to
I'd
keep them
be
in the
having
box.
anything that might swarm. But
Yeah.
boy, we saw some stuff today that I got to keep my eyes on. So these, let's see, this way, these little boxes, you can't really see them, but these little boxes over here, these are my 6-frame nukes that I wintered. And, a lot of mortality there too. And there's a lot of them that are just not getting it with the game. But there was 5 of those that I had put a second 6-frame box on top of, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, maybe 3, because they seemed to be getting with the program. And so I put a nice fresh 6-frame box and 6 frames of nice fresh honeycomb up there, nice and clean and ready to roll. And she hit that running. And we went through those today. And the best one out of those 12 frames had 10 frames with brood. And the others had almost that much. I think the worst one had 8. So they went right into double 10-frame deeps.
There you go.
From 6s.
That's
so
pretty good.
pretty happy about that. I've got to tear those down a little bit. I've got to do some equalizing and take away some of that brood because they're going to explode and they're going to leave. I'm not careful.
I think
I can't afford to have my bees leave this year.
James didn't have a swarm. His bees were going on strike because they figured he only had a 12-frame extractor that they weren't putting, they weren't going to put in that kind of work for him to disrespect them like that with the 12-framer.
That's right.
He only had a 12-frame dead horse. I mean, extractor.
Right. Well, hey, 12 frames extractor is great when you got 15 hives. 10 hives.
You're looking at it the wrong way, Bob.
Probably.
It could be a 4-frame extractor.
Yeah.
Right?
Could
I'm
be.
3 times better than that.
I would drive up
9-frame for years.
I would drive up to Grand Prairie and smack you in the head if you had a 4-frame extractor.
I ran a little 9-frame for years. It was a great little extractor.
But how many colonies did you have?
I don't really remember at that time. It was probably, it would have been 75, 80.
Wow.
Really?
Last year I used the 9-frame.
I've got an 8-frame,
yeah.
and I've only got 40. So I don't make near as much honey as they make in Canada.
Hey, I run 150 colonies.
There's my
I still
hero
only have a
again,
33. I have a 33 now. It's not that big.
Yeah, but that's still 3
run
boxes at a
150.
time.
So
3
only
1/3
boxes.
boxes.
Takes me a lifetime to extract.
So
It's all
Brad,
relative.
Brad,
Yes,
I was watching your video, your vlog today, your weekly vlog, and you kind of ended it. You had a friend coming over. Y'all were going to try to do some splits. You're going to give us a.
Yeah.
You said you weren't going to video
Sure.
it, so you need to tell us how that went.
Yeah, I kind of left you all hanging with that. I'll fill that in. Probably. It's been so busy. I'll fill that in for next week's episode. But I'll give you, a taste here. Yeah, I've been so blessed with. You're not even watching what you're doing.
He's
I've
fishing.
been so blessed.
He's
with
reeling us in.
generous people, and don't miss next week's episode.
Same
generous
brand
people in my
time.
life. I've had a number of my friends, help me out, make me offers, make plans, all that kind of stuff, which is just overwhelming and it's very humbling. So a friend of mine, he said, I'll bring a bunch of bees. And, he wasn't very specific. And so he shows up here Monday night, or Monday evening. And in the back of his SUV, he's got, what did he have? He had three 5-frame nukes, right full of brood and bees, and a 4-frame nuke full of brood and bees, I think. We made, I'm forgetting my numbers now. We made 10 nukes, 10 pretty nice nukes out of that. And just amazing. So, I mean, that timing, if you remember, the timing was that the queens were showing up on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that helped me figure out how many queens that I would be able to use. And so that just upped that number by 10. And so now I have 10 more
Nice.
sitting out here with queens, and we just checked those queens today. Checked the cages for release, and they were all out but one, and I let her out. Well, I didn't let her fly away this time, and so they're all out, and I'll give them a good week to 10 days, and then check them for laying. So that's the skinny on the buddy bringing bulk bees. It was really nice, and I had another buddy buy. I think I mentioned that he bought all the queens that I didn't use, so
Right.
that was a real blessing too. Yeah, sorry to leave you hanging. It's kind of tough. I don't close off the video before Friday, and sometimes Friday is just a madhouse, especially this time of year.
Well,
And
that was hard to watch because I could see those splits you were making were pretty thin.
very thin.
And I could see it and I could hear it in your voice. I was like, oh man, I hope this works out. And Mike, I had to run out. I was going to comment. Do you have a plan? Because even when those queens start laying, they're not going to have enough workforce. They're going to just kind of lay a little bit until you can add some bees to them. So you have a plan?
They're okay. And part of it is right now, hopefully this weather holds out. We've been having daytime highs around 30 C, which was that, James?
About 80s.
80 F. And overnight lows like 60 68 F or so, something like that. So they've not been putting up with a lot of cold temperatures, and that really helps get things rolling. I'm pretty confident. I've done week splits, 1-frame splits a lot, and if I do them generally by the 5th or the 5th of June, they'll work out.
Yeah, I had a deal where I was trying to make a really strong split, and it had a lot of brood in it. So it was above an excluder, so they had no chance of making a queen. I moved them over, knowing that a good many would fly back, but there was so much brood in there, I thought they would stay with the brood. I took a queen and a frame that she was on and put it in there. And I'll be damned if I think all those bees left and went back to the mother hive and let all that brood die. They didn't kill the queen. She was still there. And there was a handful of bees that I guess hatched out with her that stayed with her. But then I was just stuck because I'm like, okay, I can't put capped brood with her because
you got to cage that queen again.
Well, they can't. Well, they can't cover it. The bees that are in there.
Yeah.
Maybe the bees I bring over, but what if they leave? So I just had to wait it out.
That's the thing.
But when
sealed brood doesn't really anchor them like open brood does. Open brood anchors them a lot better, but sealed brood is what you want in something like that because you want it to emerge soon. That's a problem. I've had that happen.
When they finally got the 3 weeks in, when her little patch that she had built, man, they took off. It just exploded. Because
it's surprising.
They hatched and she just laid to them, and like every week they got bigger and bigger and bigger. So now they're great. But I couldn't believe those bees just abandoned all that. They abandoned like 4 frames of brood, and it all died.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. Yeah, there's not a lot of bees in there, but there's not a lot of brood either, and I think once she starts to lay, and she should be laying,
Yeah.
almost now, between now and the next couple of days, she'll be laying. And so they should be, I think they'll be okay. And I can boost too. That's going to be my summer, is boosting hives. Like these big ones that I was talking about, we're going to be taking brood away from those, putting them in some of these weaker ones to get some population boosting.
I sure hope it works out.
I've been
Are you feeding them? I'm sorry.
I have been, but I don't have to right now, because there's actually a nice little dandelion crop that gets them the nectar. Dandelion's not a great nutritional pollen, but it gives them a good little nectar flow.
The-
I
Or
was
you
gonna
can
say
say out.
I'm not sure what what my bees have found up here, Brad, but I bet you I've got 100 frames of capped honey already, and they're the amount of pollen they brought in. I actually had to shift things around and steal pollen from them. The brood nest was actually pollen bound, if you can believe that.
Mhm.
Well, it could be clover. The Dutch clover is pretty early sometimes. Our alfalfa is probably 10 inches high.
No blossoms on it though, is there?
No
So,
blossoms for another month.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't know where they're finding it,
But the
man,
Dutch clover can start, and some of the sweet clover can start too. But yeah, we generally get a bit of a dearth between dandelions and around the solstice. We'll get a couple of weeks where there's nothing.
the 4-H club, they actually stuck a second box on, so they've got about in each one of their hives. So I've got 2 hives that I donated to them. Each one of those has got probably 7 frames of capped honey in it already. Now, from that hive, I haven't split. I haven't anything. Basically, just made sure that they had everything they needed, so that the 4-H club will get as much from it as they possibly can. So, they've got the drawn comb and everything. I mean, they're getting everything, I guess. But to see 7 frames right now already of capped honey in there, those hives are just booming.
So
Well, it's a good time to get that foundation drawn, isn't it?
Yep.
I have a question about from you guys from Canada about the rules of importing bees and whatnot, because I noticed that Ian brought in bees from New Zealand and Brad brought in queens from Ukraine, but there seems to be an issue with bringing in bees from the United States. What's the
Africanization.
is it
That's
Africanized?
a big.
Yeah.
Yes and no. That's part of it. I mean, that's one of the risk factors. I don't know if I want to go into that. That's a big,
pretty.
big
I'm not asking for your opinion. I was just asking what the rules are, not just.
I know the rules are no bees from U.S. and queens only from certain areas, and the queen restrictions are from non-Africanized areas, Northern California, that kind of thing. So yeah, concerns are things like antibiotic resistant AFB, hive beetles, amatraz resistant veromites, yeah, stuff like that. That's just the concerns. And I know there's always a debate. Well, you bring different countries, and yeah, I don't think it's perfect, but that's just what it is right now. And we're always working on that. Like the beekeepers associations, we're always working at that concerning the government, and we're working on it really hard right now to try to get the government to, really tell us what's going on and what their main objections are, and are they justified. So we're working on that, because it would sure allow an influx of bees into Canada if we could get packages out of the US.
Because getting bees from New Zealand, which is much closer to that nightmare that's Trophy Laelaps, doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Whereas the US,
Well, they
I,
have
I
all the pests you're trying to avoid in New Zealand, don't they? Seems like
Well,
they do.
yeah, and that's why I just don't want to get into that really.
Okay.
Here's an interesting thing, Alex, that I learned about Trolley Labs, and I mean it scares the crap out of me too. I don't want to get that in here, but if it needs continuous brood to survive. If your colony is ever broodless, it just dies, and that's my understanding. So that's an
Yeah, I've heard
interesting
that they can't survive the
thing.
trip, but if for some reason there's a mutation somewhere where they can survive just a bit longer,
Hey, Baroa did it right, so yeah, I totally
yeah,
get it.
exactly.
But I mean, wintering, like here, we have a nice broodless period, so it wouldn't survive that. But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts concerning all that.
My question is like you, Brad, and Ian, you have this what do you call it, your sick bees with why this year? It seems, is there something different going on?
That's a good question. That's a good question, and nobody really knows. I talk to Ian almost every day about it, comparing notes and what he's seeing, what I'm seeing, what's working, what's not. And yeah, I don't know.
Or weather or
I
whatever?
I
And
seem to think it's
it's not
just
across
Nosema for
Canada,
me, but what's that?
and it's not across Canada because my apiary. Okay, I only had 15 hives, but only one had noticeable uh, nosema, and it recovered. So
Did
I don't
you
know.
have a spore count?
No,
Okay. I was just going to ask if you did spore count, and then you said it recovered. What
well,
spore count did
they're
it
like
recover
they
from?
were recovering. They like when I looked at the brood, like it was like ramping up, if you know what I mean. It looks
Yeah,
like they were recovering. I should have said it that way. Sorry, English is not my first language, so sometimes
that's
I'm not
okay.
as clear as I want to be.
Your English is better than my French. I can just swear in French, so you know
Well,
it's not
got the
appropriate for
basics
this
Well,
forum.
do you
and the
think
essentials.
maybe it's because, I mean, both of you use bee barns? Uh, I mean, where Alex is outside, that you don't actually put yours in a barn, so they can get out and fly, right?
Yeah,
And do cleansing flights.
Do
yeah.
they fly
I got
much
caught in
in
one.
your area?
Sorry.
Do they fly much in your area? Do you have warm enough weather?
During winter, no, but spring. The first time I went to feed them, I got caught in a cleansing flight, and there was shit flying everywhere. But that was I'd have to check, but it was in like early April. There was still snow.
Yeah, but mine went in a barn. I don't have a nosema problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Healthy bees can take that 5 months in that building pretty easily. And talking to Lloyd Harris, he talks about that and keeping them in that building as long as you can to keep them from flying. He talks about flight, and the correlation between flight and juvenile hormone, which as soon as they start to fly, they start to age really fast, and that's where you get that spring dwindle. They start to fly, but they don't have any replacement brood yet, or not much, and then the colony dwindles quite a bit before they recover. Um, some people are using refrigeration. Put the bees in the building early in October and keep it refrigerated later in the spring. Keep the bees from aging, and Lloyd's data supports that 100%.
And I see, and that's what I do, right? I got that
Yeah,
chiller that keeps it right at 4 degrees, and I mean,
yeah.
it made, I think it made a world of difference. I mean, they stayed clustered and they stayed tight until we took them out. You know, So
Now,
I would
Brad,
love to be able to do that.
yeah,
Yes,
Brad, in your area, you were saying that you don't really have canola, right?
In my particular, uh, yeah, where I live, like my particular area,
well, what I'm saying
there's
is when you put
generally
your
not
bees in the
canola
barn,
around.
they don't have any canola honey in them, right?
No, no, no. If they have any honey, it's going to be, purple loosestrife. There's hardly any honey they get off of that. A little bit of goldenrod maybe, but mostly clover, alfalfa, other wildflowers. In mine,
Right. But then you also feed them too. So,
but it'll be 95% syrup because there's running a single through the honey flow. They're not going to store much honey in that brood chamber.
mhm.
I'm wondering if anybody has done a study on the age of bees, not only when they can fly, but when they are without brood, because it just seems like when they don't have much brood, they live longer as well. They live longer also because, you'll get a queenless colony that can make it through the summer and they're only supposed to live 6 weeks. And it just seems like they hang on and hang on and hang on. They go laying worker, obviously, to try to express that genetics. But, you see a difference in the length of their life. I don't know if anybody's done a study of that as well, because it seems like
Well,
that.
Lloyd would have that data, I'm sure. And honestly, Lloyd is, Lloyd's getting up there.
Our bees fly year round, and they don't have much brood in the winter, but they still live. They maintain their numbers from November all the way to March. They don't dwindle much at all, and they don't grow, but they don't drop off as much as you would expect them to. If flight was the issue, because they pretty much fly year round, and they do keep some brood, but it's it's just a little bit.
And Lloyd's data is from my area,
Right?
So, there's that. But I was going to say that Lloyd is a very generous man, and he's made his data available to anyone who wants it. It's a vast data set. It's incredible. So if you want to look at it and toy with it, do some reporting against it, that can be arranged. Mark is asking if we use thymol gel in the fall when we put the bees away to maybe clean the gut. I've never tried that. I don't know anybody has. That sounds like a really great idea, because apparently thymol does have a pretty good effect on killing that nosema.
I'm going to have to go because tomorrow I have to wax a lot of gear and I gotta get up early. So I bid you all good night.
Have a good night, Alex. I'll check your picture out as soon as I get a chance.
Thank you. If you have any comments on it, if it's too small for your tastes, tell me. I'll try and boost it a bit more.
Oh, I'm going to tell you right. I can get way back to Trevor. What he's going to say is, that looks good, but you still need more bees. That's what he's going to say.
Need more cowbell.
Yes, more cowbell.
If you can see the top of the frames, you need more bees.
Yeah.
I'll take a look.
Your head now,
and if
Brian?
you think that's enough bees, take some more bees.
Well,
have a good night, Brian.
Good night.
Have a good night, guys.
Alex. So James, not James, but Brad, what do you do to get your bees ready for winter? Do you let them store honey, or do you just feed them heavily?
Feed the living daylights out of them.
Okay, so they're going into winter with just sucrose, which, from what I'm hearing, is the best thing you can do. Leaving honey on them is.
Dr. Curry is our local. Well, he's not just local, but he's local here. Has done extensive research on winter feed, and he's got a very extensive presentation. I think you can actually see it online.
It is online,
about that.
I've watched it a couple times.
And it is definitive proof that sucrose is king. Actually, those are his words.
Yeah.
Sucrose is king.
No,
so yeah, 2 to 1. 2 to 1, and I'm putting 5 gallons of that at least into a single deep.
That's what I do. I mean, like even Gus Mitchell down in Tennessee, he says he takes every drop of honey off those bees and feeds them because they do better over winter.
That's what I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I pull every frame. If it's partially full of honey, I pull it. So they have zero.
And some honeys are worse than others. Like you get a nice sweet clover honey or something. It's not a bad winter feed. But generally the
Stuff
darker
we have
honey,
in the dark.
It's a good winter feed for this guy.
well, it's a better winter feed for you.
That's what I mean. This
I've-
guy enjoys that clover honey.
I've seen you take down Roger's golden syrup like nothing else. So
That was like I haven't had that. Actually that was something I had as a kid, and I got to bake some bread because man, that is awesome.
That's our that's our fall honey. It's like Guinness Stout.
Ooh.
oh yeah.
So it's dark.
Not
Now,
what you want.
James, when you feed your sugar water and you put apis in there, right?
Correct. Yep.
Now, so you don't just put a certain amount of apis in, as far as gallons of sugar.
I
With
mix
that,
it right as what's on the package. So
Now, what I'm getting at is that like when I fed mine last fall, I gave them about 4 gallons of sugar water that had apis biologic in it, and I had a huge bee population explosion. Whereas, are you feeding 100% of all your sugar water being added with that product?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Is
So the question here was, has anyone checked the supplier for the syrup? And that's a really good question because that can be variable. I don't know if it's a source of infection so much, but sometimes syrup has problems, and there has been problems with syrup. I mix all of my syrup from straight white sugar, and so there's if anything's wrong with it, it's my fault, right? I know there's not something coming in a tanker that's going to kill my bees. And that's why I like to do that. It's a lot of work, but I like to do that because it helps me sleep at night.
Yeah.
That I know where that sugar came from. I know what's in that syrup.
And the other thing to say is it's food grade sugar, so it's a good quality sugar.
so, Brad, what gear pump, or were you talking about a gear pump for pumping honey? When we were talking before, you said you can get a cheap gear pump.
Oh, yeah, the pump I use in the honey house is just a 1-inch gear pump. It's a bronze, a food grade pump.
Where'd you get it?
Yeah.
I got it from a sideliner, sold out, so I can't tell you.
Okay.
But it's fairly readily available.
I'm pretty sure Ackland's Granger has them, and
They do. I found it on their site.
On Granger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a minute. I might be able to come up with it. So I got this giant cat that needs attention too. So yeah, it's just and it's. I think they were priced just a few $100s Canadian, which is amazing. The price you pay for that kind of pump at a bee supply, you pay $2,000, but it doesn't include. It's just the pump. It doesn't include anything else. No stand, no motor, no pulleys, no reduction. And mine has a double reduction. It has a belt reduction and a gear reduction on it. The pump actually turns pretty slow.
Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, I see. Dayton rotary gear pump head. 1,725 RPM. Oh, that's half inch though. 1-inch port. 445 US. All right. We'll see. See if I sell these nukes. If I sell these nukes, we might have a game changer going on around here.
I figured James is going to try to talk you out of selling those nukes. He's been trying to build you up.
Well, those are nukes that I bought. James is wanting me to build from my own stock, right? So
I got you.
That's my flipping bees there.
Except for that one queen.
There's Bob's bees. What Bob does with Bob's bees is Bob's business. Hey, that was a lot of bees, right?
Well, sir.
Bob, I'm pasting a link in the private there for eBay. That's exactly the pump that's on my system. I think that's
495 Canadian.
a little too much money, but because I know I've seen them at Granger for less than that, but that's the pump.
And then you still have to have a motor. And all
Oh yeah,
that, right?
yeah. You got to put a base on it. You got to put a motor and pulleys and get her running the right speed. It doesn't turn very fast.
All right.
But I will tell you that it doesn't put up with wax real well, so you really have to have a baffled sump upstream.
Clarifier.
Well,
So,
see,
yeah,
that's
clarifier.
what I'm talking about right there. See, that's what I've been looking at. I just bought, and you weren't on the other night. I just bought the. It's a Lyson, but it's not a Silver Queen uncapper. It looks like it, but it's got the hand crank where you hand crank the frames through the motorized steam blades.
Yeah.
And but I don't
That's
have
a good little unit.
So I don't have a clarifier. But if I get a clarifier, everything's going down to ground level, so I have to pump the honey back up.
Yeah.
To get it out.
And that's exactly my system. It comes out of the extractor into the, I call it the sump. It's got two sets of baffles that makes the honey go down and up to kind of separate the wax because the wax wants to float. And it's got a heated jacket. It's a water jacket, heated. And then
you have the Lyson one, or you got a different brand?
No, it's an old. I think it's an old Kelly.
The
sump.
But now, don't you have to have a lot of honey flow for a slump to work?
Well, mine is actually the bigger of the sumps that they sell, and yeah, it'll hold 10 or 15 gallons of honey. So that might be your whole crop.
Yeah.
You just fill the sump, like I'll extract all day to fill the sump before the pump turns on.
I think the Lyson one is 18 gallons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good size.
Charlie clicked out.
Nope, we lost Charlie.
Charlie's gone.
But the so yeah, I don't know. If I sell those nukes, I'll probably go ahead and buy it. But I don't know.
Yeah, if you can't get the wax out, you need a lot bigger pump. You need those bigger pumps that'll put up with wax. I mean, I've plugged mine with wax. I just have to take the inlet outlet off and get in there with a screwdriver and pick the wax out of the gears
till it spins again.
Yeah, and you can hear it. You can hear it because the wax sticks to the gears, and then the gears try to mesh, and it just starts banging away. It starts up and it's just bang, 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 and you can hear that there's wax stuck in it.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Ed had a problem with, and he got that instead of a gear pump, he got a lobe pump.
Yeah.
Yeah. That worm drive is what he's at.
Yeah, those worm.
I know it's kind of like it's like loops, and it I don't know
It's a progressive pump.
His pump looks like my pasta machine. It's got that little worm drive that is.
Yeah, those will pump wax.
It's like a sausage grinder.
Yeah,
it pumps it through there.
Yeah. No, I generally if I get mine plugged with wax, it's because I've done something stupid. Like run the sump, not me. run the sump low, and then because there's always wax floating on the top of the sump, and if you run it too low, then the wax starts to get sucked into the outlet. So you just have to not, if you don't have your float adjusted right, and it lets it doesn't shut the pump off before it gets too low.
Yeah.
Put it in a barrel and use a lift.
Wax is stubborn. I washed out 9 5-gallon buckets today, and the one thing that was left in the bottom of one of them was wax. And I got through and I rinsed it out and went, "Oh, it's just wax. Leave it in there." Stuck to the bottom.
I've been rendering frames in my melter, and it's just a disgusting job. I have to. Next job is to go out and scoop all the slum out of that melter. I'm really looking forward to that job.
You said you were melting down all your frames that that looked like they were old or might have some of that
Yeah.
in them. So you're going to have a lot of wax to sell this year.
Well, there's some wax coming out, but it's not that much. But there's a lot of syrup coming out because a lot of those frames are
I wish I could
full of feed.
I wish I could go up there and buy some of your wax because you said you sold it to somebody for $5 a pound. That's half of what Man Lake charges.
$5 Canadian, so it's like 30
Oh,
cents
That's
a
about
pound US.
25 cents a pound US.
You shoot. Yeah, I'll take all of it and resell it.
Well, I do watch the commodity price here, but it's usually about not too far off that. I sell it to a buddy for that. So
yeah. So I don't know. I guess my bees are doing okay. It's just not much of a flow here. I mean, and we're colder here than you are there, which is unusual.
yeah, it's been really hot here. It's almost melting point of Canadians. It's crazy.
The Canadian melting point.
That's right. It's about 33 is the Canadian melting point.
It's the highest temperature it's been all day. It's 59 degrees right now. Fahrenheit.
Really?
Yep. So it's like 20 degrees less than the average.
It's nearly 70 right here now. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I was feeling the same way about my bees here, but when I put that honey out, that was that residue that was in those 5-gallon drums, they didn't touch it. I'm like, well, that's a really good sign. Maybe I'm just being optimistic, but if they weren't finding something, they would have been all over that honey.
Well, we got some of the glossy privet is just starting across the street, so I'm hoping when the temperature comes back up this week, it's all going to pop open after this rain, and then the bees will go insane on it. So
I just cleaned up my tank here sitting on this trailer. I have to use this trailer on Monday to take my equipment over to the dipper, and so I pump what's in it into a 45-gallon barrel for open feeding. So I didn't see anybody on it today, but there's still dandelions around, and the trees. There's a lot of trees coming open here. There's hawthorns and plums and apples.
So yeah, you guys just got like a constant flow. It seems like once the tap turns on, it just goes.
Well, think of it this way, Bob, that your flow has that gap, right? You get your spring and then you get your fall, right? You got that gap. Well, I guess as it gets colder, growing zone, that gap just kind of closes, and we do have that little gap because we have late May into the first week of June, and then we have a tiny gap of a couple of weeks, maybe 3, before everything hits, and then the big flow through July. Not that much in August, but I've seen some clover in September even.
Well, this is so unusual the way it is here. I just don't know what it's going to do with the nectar flow. If it's going to, really pop and go hard from, I guess, late spring. I mean, solstice is next month, so that's usually when we start declining. But we haven't had that yet. We haven't had that big pop, so
yeah, I think that one of the big differences is what I've noticed is that your flow is not nearly as reliable as our flow.
It's not.
It takes a really unusual year for our flow to be dramatically affected, and I see it more than a lot of people because guys sit on a big canola flow and plant their canola, and canola grows, and then they get the crop, and around where I am, if the hay fields don't produce and if the wildflowers don't produce, and I think those are more variable in good years and bad years, if you can call them that. But God bless them, my bees are pretty consistent. They bring in almost exactly the same crop every year.
It was really polite of you, Brad, to call it a gap.
A gap.
Yeah, from June, middle of June to 1st of September, we call that a dearth. I don't know when a gap becomes a dearth, but
a gap becomes a dearth.
Yeah, there's a time in there that it's more than a gap.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't have your honey off by the time that starts, they're going to eat it.
Oh yeah, you can't. There's just
I learned that in my 3rd year. But the first year I went to singles, I learned that.
Well, you have to wait until the dearth is almost on before it to get ripe enough to harvest, and then it's just a battle to get it out of
I
there.
deal with that here.
Yeah.
They take
love
so
to watch.
long to ripen that honey, and then
Yeah.
I'm come on, ripen honey, and then I go out there the next day and they're eating it on me, and it's don't do
That's
that.
my favorite part of Ian's videos when he has to put those socks over his eyes
Yeah.
to keep the bees from
He's doing that less now that he's starting to buy some new boxes, so he's doing that less. That's for his old leaky boxes.
There you go. Well, the 4-H students today, they figured out that one of them accidentally put their finger in one of the honey frames. And she's like, "Oh, now what do I do?" So she's literally got her finger. I says, "Well, lick it off." And they're like, "What?" So I grabbed my hive tool and I just took a big mouthful out of their frame, eh? Wow. I think those 4-H students just about emptied that one frame when they found out you can eat this. Their eyes were this big and they're like, "Woo!"
Now you got a bunch of teenagers on sugar high dancing around the place.
That's okay because they all left the apiary.
That's funny. Yeah, it's.
I like it when it's hot.
It was 23 degrees today, so it was nice and warm honey, and it was good.
I think you muted yourself, Brad.
Oh, we lost Brad.
Did he mute himself?
I don't know if he muted himself. We can't hear you, Brad.
Nope. Maybe his mic cut out or something.
I don't know. Do you know what time it is? Yep. It is 12:31 on Sunday morning for us East Coasters.
Yeah, 11:30 here.
Time has no meaning.
So
we're bees. We work all night long.
Still can't hear Brad.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Brad.
I'll send him a quick message so he knows.
He apparently can't hear us, or
he might be.
My cat's sitting on my mute button.
There you go.
There you are.
I guess he thinks I talk too much.
We,
He doesn't talk at all.
Blame it on the cat. I blame stuff on the dog, but not that.
Oh, I was saying the big day tomorrow. I get to load my trailer and get my building clear of all of my woodenware and take it to the dipper and then hopefully get paid.
There you go.
So it's a big day. I've been waiting for this for many months.
How many do they dip at a time?
Pallets?
Well, pallets or boxes.
Well, I don't know. I don't ever watch them dip boxes.
They actually
they'll do 10 or 12 covers at a time. They got a nice little rack that they set them in. And pallets, I don't know because they built a new tank since I kind of last watched them do it.
Oh, okay.
The old tank, they'd have to dip it by hand, and they'd have to dip it one end and then flip it over and dip it the other end. So it was a real pain. But the new tank is bigger. They can get, I think they can get a couple in there at a time.
Got her.
Yeah. Hey, Jason just joined us. Jason, I think our live became a sleepover.
Yeah.
I can do what? I think I do 3 pallets at a time in my dipping tank.
Well, that's really good.
Oh, that thing is working absolutely phenomenal.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to move that equipment along and recover some of my storage space. There's pallets everywhere here.
Yep.
Well,
all right.
Bee sleepover. Yep. Pretty much. We've only been going 3.5 hours.
Well, I spent my day going. Well, I mean, we did some bee work this morning, and then I had to go out to Buddy's place. Just over an hour away, actually. He another generous person. I've been fretting about fulfilling my nuke obligations to people who had ordered nukes over the winter, and so he made me up a dozen nukes that I went out today and got, and made a couple deliveries. on the way back to customers. So it was so hot that I didn't want to keep the nukes in the back of the truck. I put them in the cab, in the behind, in the back seat area, and I can get, I think, 15 Pro nukes behind the seat in that truck. It's got a big back seat. I kept the AC cranked right up. Something was leaking though, because boy, there sure was a lot of bees in the truck.
You know what? Bees can get out of those Pro nuke boxes.
Yeah, especially if the lid is on vent, it
Vented.
sits up a little bit.
But even if it's not, if you got it turned around the other way, they actually come out the holes on the bottom of the boxes.
Oh, do they?
I wouldn't
Well,
have guessed that, but
I know when to put them in there. There was a bunch of bees right on one of the doors. They were just clustering there, so I'm sure a lot of them came from there. So I couldn't do anything about it when I was driving down the highway. But when I come into the city and I stop at a traffic light, I just all the windows down, and there's this big cloud of bees that circles the truck. So that was my excitement for today, riding around with the bees in the truck. Not all of them in boxes.
They're co-pilots.
Yeah. I only got stung once. I put my arm on the armrest. There was a bee on it, so she gave me what for.
There you go. I got one today, and that's only because I crushed her. So
Same with me. I got one in the thumb when I was working bees this morning, just because I pinched her.
yeah.
I deserved it.
So
Well, guys, I'm gonna head out. We'll see y'all later.
Okay, Charlie.
Have a good night,
I think
Charlie.
I'm gonna
Nice
kill
to
the
see you.
screen for tonight.
Hey, Bob. I remember when we did that bee rescue the other night on your live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I texted the lady I gave those to today. I said, "Have you looked in those bees yet?" And she said, "No, she's going to look into them Monday." And I said, then she replied back to me. She said, "They must be doing okay," because she said they came at her when she tried to rake leaves around them. So, we may have given her some mean bees. Who knows?
What are they? They must be from Bob's apiary.
These are good Texas bees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it might be from my apiary. Probably flew down there.
Did you find that queen yet?
Nope. It's been raining. Every time I'm off, it's raining. I know I moved a nuke into a 10 frame box the other day, and they were really spicy. But it was a little overcast, and it was a little bit late in the day, and I moved them from a 5 frame nuke into the 10 framer.
Yeah.
And man, I opened that top and ping, 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 right off the veil. I was like, okay, we'll keep an eye on this one.
Today we literally sat on the hives in the apiary and ate our sandwich and drank our cold beverage in the middle of the apiary on the hives. Took the veil and stuff off, and nobody cared. No, there was no bee around. There was no nothing. So,
Well, let them take a sting once or twice. Then they're beekeepers.
Yeah, you go.
But yeah, I mean, I've got some, and they're not all. I could go in one hive today, and they could be really spicy, and I could go in the same hive tomorrow, and they would be totally different.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
But yeah, I still got work to do. I still got work to do with getting my stuff right. I got it. I get it. I'll just get some of those nice queens that everybody's selling nowadays.
There's a question. It's 10:30 where I am and 11:30 where, or it's 11:30 where I am, 10:30 where James is now. Yeah, James is a long ways north of me even, so it stays light, very
Yes.
late.
yeah, I'm 55th. So
55.
Yeah, 55.
So I'm 50
So
50 degrees where I am.
I think we're like 30 down here, 32, something like that.
Oh And it's
All
warmer
right.
up there than it is down here. Go figure.
Yeah, well,
See,
It's-
we're paying back for all that laughing we were doing at y'all in the snow.
Bob,
Exactly.
you know what? There's days, and no kidding, it's not that unusual. There's days where it's warmer on Mars than it is here.
Yep.
Seriously, there's a lot of days it's warmer on Mars than it is here.
I think if you go back and you take a look at my videos, Grand Prairie in the last 3 years has been the coldest place on Earth. So
That's crazy.
Well, they say Winnipeg is the coldest, large city, and I guess that's over 500,000 or something like that in the world.
and it always blows there.
It's just bloody windy the whole time,
just-
too. Yeah.
You know. So
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to kill the live stream.
All right.
well, good night, everyone.
Appreciate you guys, and we will see you later.
All right, everybody. Nice
All
to
right.
see you.
Good night.
Good night.